getting an outpost here, scouting out what's available, what's free. I like that. I can understand the mentalities behind it. It does leave you at a bit of a risk of players just sending directly towards you. And I think that what you're relying on there is the fact that these teams are going to be preoccupied with one another in this early game. But we'll see what happens. I think they're desperately trying to take as much control as possible now to set themselves up for another good game. Now the door is open, that they see they're cracking it. They see the light in the living room where it looks chill, it looks comfy, heading over towards the survival stage. And they just want to keep things clean from here onwards. Some teams around here, PUBG Evos, had to make a long rotate, but I think that they've been fairly comfortable making this rotate out of Yasnaya. Usually there's a bit more of that northern side of the circle available for them to actually breach inwards. So a lot of teams confirming down towards this south side, as the circle doesn't give too much chance unless it's a desperate hard shift up towards that northern side. I think PUBG Evos might have a bit of trouble getting to this one. Circle does move down towards the south. We're looking towards the swamp area, towards Quarry. Bit of a difficult area to play in. A lot of ridges, a couple of hillsides to play from. But you ought to be quick now getting towards those positions. And Gladiators, they're going to make a beeline southwards.
Got to move with volition here. That's what they're all starting to do. Everyone behind the driving seat, going as quick as they can to get themselves into a safe location. Bit of a convoy being formed here as well, with I8 and Bra Esports right on top of one another. Zia making a cameo into the back line as well. And they're just chasing each other down on this, knowing that they both have a same mindset in terms of the location. They want to play around T-Amber up into the tree line with loops relatively close as well. A lot of contact going to be occurring here. The forest is going to get very scary very quickly. Bullets being sprung upon I8 as they battle down. Bra Esports being able to maul their way through them so far. They're aware of the locations that T-Amber have been playing as well, but you've just got so many squads on top of one another. This is also room for Loops to try and assess it just off the back of the audio cues they're hearing. They could third party onto this if they want to, but this is more like a house party. There's about 6 different squads all right by, starting to read into this one.
I kind of like that play from Bra Esports as well. They sort of let I8 get ahead of them because they were in front of the convoy there as well. So they just slow it down, take the foot off the accelerator just a little bit, let them run into T-Amber, then amongst that chaos, you know, Kakali gets out the vehicle, pops another from I8, just makes their life so much easier in the future for themselves. So Bra Esports, I like the game plan. They knew that it was going to be tough. They were one of the last teams to get into the circle alongside with the rest of the others. So now they just want to secure this position, a bit more area to play inwards from, because they're likely going to be locked around this area for quite some time, right? So for them, it's important to clear out as many teams or make as many teams suffer as possible to make their entry just that easier. Stalwart yet to join us so far. They're still on that South Island. They're still rotating through. You can see over towards our skyscraper on the right-hand side. Everyone's suffering badly. Everyone's on pretty low HP. They've maintained that position for a hell of a long time.
Inflict the damage, slow down the game, and don't make a costly mistake. Everyone playing relatively reserved, at least in the grand scheme of the fight. Then, of course, you need to maximize your point score from this one. Zuxi and co over on Evos, finding the odd opportunity to fight their way into it. And this has been one of the longer time. Rotate slowly through the blue, trying to avoid as many fights as possible. And of course, that is because of that change in mind. And with the zone getting smaller, there's only going to be more coming in quickly. Alter Ego struggling again as well as Rosemary gets hit. T-Amber of all of our squads were able to he's exposing Icy, so he's losing a lot of health, but he's back.
QCZ even unleashes a little bit of barrage. Toxic gets sent down. Mate, QCZ has been an absolute powerhouse for T-Amber so far. I think it's a bit stepped up quite as much. In the meantime, Matic takes a decent shot over towards Revo from Alpha 7, able to knock him. No flush as of yet, though. But I think Gladiators, from the position they're currently set on, right, I think it's smart for them just to sit over here, try and clear the edge as much as possible. I don't think that they would have done that without that last game, just boosting that confidence a little bit more. I think it might have been one of those more wild center pushes where they lose half the team and then they're in survival stage. So I respect this from the Gladiators. See what they can get done from it. Obviously, A7 now in a bit of a rough spot themselves. They're outside the blue, and it is pushing them in over towards this high ground that currently Gladiators have a 2-2 split on.
Slow and steady then. Everyone realizing just how impactful their next play has to be. Teetering on a knife's edge. Alpha 7 always keen to instigate the fight, though. Do go for their dive. Oh, quick trade back around as the shot he's pulled out. And it will be pounding its way onto the Gladiators. Double knock secured. Cleans up off the back of it as well. And you've got geometry here. You can tuck in. They're going to run the risk of going for the full revive and resetting through the fight. So a 4 versus 2 with Gladiators not wanting to invest everything and lose from this one. Looks like they're going to fragment. One player rotating off. Meanwhile, here we've got Bra Esports thrown into a bit of a drive-by convoy again. Zia are in their faces.
I think for Bra, right now, they need to keep hold of this position. Alpha 7 there just make a really strong play, right? I think you understand that Gladiators are currently split off, so you try and take down both the players on the high ground, and there really just wasn't enough of a response from the 2 lads underneath and the 2 guys on top. Nice initial knock, but I think Meku sort of had to commit to that engagement there alongside with his teammate. Just go for the refrag. Circle shifts over towards this western side as well, so it feels a bit brutal for the guys on Gladiators, where they did have actually a pretty significant chance in this game. It's these splits that really are just causing them a lot of pain so far. I think it's another player getting knocked from the Gladiators. Let's see if we can pull them back up, but Mad Bull's not likely to allow them to get away with it. DX, they spot Alpha 7 as well as they try and move in with the M249, striking a little bit of sound into the map and ringing the gong for the rest of DX to move over that top side to try and remove the remainders of A7.
Nades soaring through the sky from either side. Lot to work with here for either team. Ooh, big damage there though. And that's Quest with a backstab, finding a prime opportunity to get stuck into this encounter. Ooh, quick turn and burn, seeing if they can force them off. Worried about Evo stood away in the far back as well. Damage being established all over the shop. Everyone is taking a lot of it, leaving the overall average HP at an all-time low. Meanwhile, you've got a full frontal assault going down here in close-range combat with the shotguns barking in the face of Zia as Bra Esports look to shroud themselves in smokes and try and close it out from this one. Kakali couldn't do the fancy footwork. He falls. They've got control of the shed. The nade's chunky, though. Big connection there with the backup of Coursera.
R&J tries to swing it wide. Looks like Kane's just in a bit of a bad spot. Coursera does go down. Like you said, it was a nice chunky initial grenade. That nade's good though. Will take down one. The rest of Zia looking pretty unhappy of themselves. Earth's last remain with the Scarrel, but outside in the blue is going to push him soon. Stage 4 will be doing an absolute massive amount of damage to him. And Topsic, I think, has a good idea of where he's going. Just trying to secure this push out towards the western side. Still not down as of yet, though. And Tospic needs to think about moving soon.
Well, he's moving down into the ground. Instantly. Kane on the reply, though, at least able to find one, inflicting some more pain towards Zia, and jumps in a vehicle. Oof, the blue nipping at him as he pulls his way back in, turning the tires. Earth strikes again onto Kane. Will be able to finish him off, so survives his way through that one. The other fight going on down towards the bottom as well as Evos just trying to third party where possible. And that's Zuxi with a shotty. He's found a flank round on towards the backhand side of Alpha 7 and inflicting a fair amount of damage. Luxy as well, single-handedly taking on DX Blank. This is carnage.
I kind of like that play coming through from Position Ethos, especially the little side swipe. Just stay down Alpha 7 as he just pops the DBS over towards him before looking back up towards DX, removing some of those players. Quest, Prestige Evos has had an idea of where these players have been for quite some time. They took a knock over towards them and it's delayed them just a little bit as Prestige Evos thinks towards Falcons position now. A little bit further mode towards the center of the circle. We're down to 13 teams. A lot have been damaged, and STE sort of struggling to get in when Mali's taking a couple shots towards them too. Not likely they'll be able to get their player back up at his feet as we hit stage 5, where the circle's going to make it really, really tough to get your players back up before it pings them back out again.
Smoke wall down. Ooh, a light effort to divide the grenade will pack a ton of damage though. Full commit from Quest as they spam the bullets in from the sideline, keeping Evos trapped in the middle. A rough position to be in. You're being flanked by Falcons and just having to fight your way through the team in front of you. Meanwhile, here as well, Reject Tokyo with compound control, but high ground. They can play from the top story window, peeking down into the lower levels and peeking out onto STE as well, finding Stalwart as tops. Well, he's now gone, completely removed from the equation. Re-aggression again from Questblind. The nades instigating this one. Low HP across the board for Evos. They might want to swoop in. Al Haji, the big man, he's going for it.
Picks up with the UMP, some girthy grenades, heading over that top side, and Procedure Evos just hasn't been able to receive so far. Misery and Lynx left remaining. Al Haji takes a big hit, but will drop the deck on his belly now, trying to get away, but he's knocked, put down, kneels on the floor as the spray comes through from Teak, and Falcon swinging through with the Talons are dealing a lot of damage to both these teams so far. And gets a nice nade, will hit Misery very hard, but he just wants to finish him off, and will grab it, tries to run away, but just a little bit of that shrapnel will take him out at the end as Falcons can start to make their move in from that western side. They've cleared really nicely, Jackie.
It's a big reset. A nice way to get things going. Quick save of a teammate as well, as Puncher will jump in the back seat and Six will provide reconnaissance, getting his way further into the zone to play off of AXA. Smokes up, but you're downrange. Teams all around you as well. Gladiators and Alter Ego in close proximity, just using their utility to at least give them some breathing room as they drop the smokes and reset from this. Elise Esports all the way in the back line as well, with Kishu being behind Gladiators, both of them with their nades pulled out. Meanwhile, Melise finding an opportunity to get a read in the distance. They're dashing them towards Six. Tixie quite exposed. Lucky, single bullet towards the chest blank. A few more of those and he could have been gone.
Yeah, Six takes a huge amount of damage there, and Gladiators just holding their ground, know the need to keep swinging that ordnance through towards them. I'm surprised Six hasn't gone down as of yet. There's still nades available as Tixie sends another one through. Looks like it's on target. Will not get the knock though, and Falcons have held on for a long, long time. In the meantime, it's Melise over towards Alter Ego, getting the side swipe. Melise have played a pretty fantastic game this time around, constantly taking control of these high ground ridges and shutting down teams before they can get close. Gladiators, I think they're now pretty much out of nades. A good shot will take down at least one of them, making popping a nade through that shack window all but easier.
And the nades don't end just with Gladiators, as it seems like Falcons, well, these birds have learned how to pick up hand grenades and throw them as they're swooping in and dive bombing, being able to inflict an awful lot of damage and project themselves further into this one. Knowing the location of Mad Balls as well and being a little bit paranoid about it, Melise starting to get back on the move as well, trying to find their way in towards the zone. You've got control of a nice little building here though for Mad Balls. They don't have to overextend. You've got geometry as well with the vehicles for the quick getaway, and they know exactly where Falcons are. They're just trying to keep themselves alive, keep a read on it, dashing out the smokes as well to make it uncomfortable. Reject Tokyo already set up with a position where they feel comfortable. Falcons, we've seen them stuck down in a muck for so long. Now they're starting to push, looking if they can get a bit further forward here.
My Bulls pushing down the hill. Look over towards the Falcons, see their position. Two teams that want to hold on to their spot, trying to get in towards that survival stage. A great shot at the start there from Zerich. Will open it up over towards Axa, and he finds another. Zerich is absolutely destroying the boys over towards Falcons. Just Puncher left remaining, able to get a refrag in, but it's Zerich on this flank who is absolutely dominating them.
And this is one of the few times it feels like we've seen the talent that we know Mad Bulls have. Usually so impactful when it comes to hitting their shots, but they've been struggling to flex their muscles into this game at least, hitting some big ones. But Zerich severs himself too far from the pack and won't be able to reset. He's wiped off of the face of the battleground. The rest of Mad Bulls as well, taking so much damage, Blank. Frozen's forced to heal. His teammates' nades will still save the day as Falcons are detonated by the follow-up from Tulika, the grenade launcher, and they can calm down. Mad Bulls, you've lost one player, sure, but you're still in it.
I mean, you respect the play there coming through from Mad Bulls and Zerich in particular, right? He opens up the fight so well. He knows he's on the exposed ridge side, but he's just trying to get his 3 players a little bit further into this game. With the amount of carnage, the amount of action that's going on, it's likely that a lot of these teams are fairly damaged. Unfortunately for them, there is so many teams left remaining. They were able to get into a position where there was a compound to play. So Mad Bulls are one of the teams moving off from one of the most brutal areas of the map. They're going to be lacking on utility, lacking on that ammo. So we'll see just how far they can go. Reject, though, we've not talked about them for a while. Only one elimination, but they are the big story point. With Alpha 7 going out early with only 3 eliminations, right now it's a 16-point gap between Reject and them, and hitting up a 3rd place. So not deterred by that last game, still determined a Reject to get in towards that secure invite, and just like the Japanese flag, these guys are that red dot in the center causing close.
It's them and Loops, man. It's them and Loops that look so good right now coming in. All 4 of your squad weights alive. That might change soon, though, as Loops have been swung upon. The backstab from Zia. A last-ditch attempt to make it uncomfortable. Blade as well. Oh, mate, with the UMP from a distance, he's firsted onto Mythic Blank. They go from all 4 alive to having 3 and drastically having to try and get themselves back into a good position now. This means that Reject Tokyo and Melise, they're going to this. Loops, that felt so rough.
This rotate from Mad Bulls, though, what's this? Moving over towards Loop's side, they're in a state of panic, right? This might be a position where Frozen, Fleeke, and Tulika might just be able to get a side swipe over toward the boys on Loops. They're not even looking towards them right now. All attention over towards the Reject comp. Doing damage, but a huge play as Frozen gets closer and closer to the prize that is this position that Loops is holding.
Frozen, belly on the floor, slowly encroaching his way in. Meanwhile, Loops look to strike as they push up. Loops has taken a ton of damage. Frozen reveals his card. It's unlucky, man. A lot of damage, but that's all it is. Tags, not frags. Meanwhile, Reject Tokyo lose none of their lifelines. OCO as well, taking a hefty hit, forced to use the smokes to try and get the res back in and reset. But look how much space is being taken away now, Blank. Everyone's getting closer and closer towards their compound.
Yeah, 1 player down in Luther, not good. Regiocio did get res back up again, but there's so much attention towards their compound. You can kind of understand why they're struggling just a little bit. A lot of smoke's been placed down around them, denying their sightlines as players move ever closer. Frozen takes a bit of damage, but still moving forward. It's Poser with a nasty swipe from the side, nailing his shots as well. And Melise Esports has just been a nuisance from far away. The snipers of the lobby.
Mad Bulls, they thought they were the one ringing the dinner bell, but it was the dinner plate that made the difference. Although, Sarah, that's a hell of a shot. They've got geometry to work with here as well. They can stay tucked in. They shouldn't be too exposed to the rest of Melise because Poser thought he could go in confidently to clean up. Instead, Sarah, with a sick flick, strikes back and shuts him down. Now, they're in a bit of a risky spot though. Smoke's going up to shroud them, looking for the finish onto Poser. They're going to be able to at least guarantee that as Tiamba pull up to the party and strike back against them as well. A lot of fragmented squads here. Tuleka still close by as well. Loops now starting to move on in Blank. Oh, this could kick off at any moment. This feels like a firework about to blow.
Loops claiming the compound, the furthest we've seen Tiamba get into the game, and Reject just performing miracles today, just consistently getting further and further into these matches. Utility looks pretty dry over towards Regiosio. Ayala finds Tulika as he tries to make a reposition. Tiamba so quiet from underneath, just keeping silent this whole time. Duello taking out the vehicles, preventing that reposition. But Loops, amidst all that, despite losing a player to 2 solos, which must have been infuriating, are able to take control of a pretty significant bit of high ground in this compound.
The line in the sand has been drawn now between our 3 surviving squads. But who instigates the fight? Who makes the first move? Quick head count of the utility as well. You can see that Loops, when it comes to offensive utility, they are ready. 14 grenades in the back pockets. How much use can they make of them? And will their one smoke be a bit of a drawback in terms of the detriment? Cardozin taking a peek out. Oh, the timing. If it would have been slightly quicker on that peak blank, that could have been the head ripped off. So, Reject Tokyo, lucky on that one. But they're trying to take space. You can see their game plan. They're moving a little bit further forward now.
Yeah, it's a decent bait from Regiosio. Runs to front knowing he can quickly duck underneath the window while Sarah and Duello go for the double peek on the window. It's smart stuff. Last circle now. 3 teams. Starts to push in. This is where those 14 grenades have to come in handy. But realistically, Reject Tiamba, they can blanket this entire circle in smoke everywhere as Tiamba looks to move out. Try and get a side swipe over towards these teams. New angles. But Chief unloads the grenades, pulls the pin, looking to end this team. Nice spray from Duello, tries to prevent him from leaving. Still a lot of bullets on side, but for Regiosio, not so many. 2 clips.
He's going to have to start preserving this ammunition now, using it a little bit more sparingly. And usually it feels like Reject Tokyo, they come into these final circles absolutely armed to the teeth. This could be one of the few times where we see that drawback come to haunt them. Tiamba, though, forced into uncomfortable territory, expanding further and further out with the smoke wall they've made for themselves. But you are peeking into Sarah, and he's ready blank.
That was a nice shot from Sarah, and a really important one as well. Put himself in a very risky position, but wanting to take out that angle on the side. In comes Lee to try to do something about it. Smoke's going down right now. A lot of nades over towards Sarah's side, and he has to hit some big ones. Regiosio and the rest of Reject on the back there. Ayla took a high ground position, but there is chunking happening over towards the boys on Loops. Cardozin already very low, and Sarah pops out from nowhere, bro.
Sarah, the surprise soldier, strikes back as he cuts his way through them like a tactical blade. The insertion is huge, and it all falls onto Ayala. Now with a shotty, got to go nuclear, pushes in blank, one hefty chunk.
No
to get the second
way!
as well. He's done it. Ayala, the aggressor, snatches away the chicken dinner from the hands of Reject Tokyo.
Man was on fire, literally. He would have died if he'd not got that elimination in time. That takes things to a whole new level. He was on a timer and it was running out, and I think Reject thought it was all over then and there, but they had to hit the shots. The Molotov utility, it was gorgeous coming through from Reject, but Loops don't care. Ayala, straight DBSs, both of them. What a turnaround in the final moments, and once again, Reject gets spoiled their chicken dinner by another team. Brutal stuff. But still for them, good points, good point scoring. It's just Loops are too good.
These were the 2 teams that wanted those points more than anyone. You could see it with their placements as well. Overall, it means so much, and for both of them to still add points away, it's insanity. Loops really giving it there when it came down to the heroism in the dying moments of that one, being able to clutch it in an unfathomable way. For Reject Tokyo, again, another second place. But like you're saying, it's still points. It's still points for both of them. And that's what matters most, Blank. Getting as close as you can to that top 3, guaranteeing that you feel comfortable in yourself here in the 3rd day of play.
I just feel bad for the guys on Reject. They just came face to face of the Brazilian Ghost Rider around the corner. That is a terrifying sight. Just a dude on fire, nothing left to lose, DBS in hand. Yikes, bro.
absolutely crazy, man. The way that he's been able to win that's a crazy clutch. We've seen a lot of big plays with a DBS, but that one takes the cake in terms of aggression. Let's get back to the desk and break it down.
Oh boy, are you kidding me? For a second, I thought we were going to see 3 chicken dinners in a row from Team Reject, but Ayala said, no, sir, not today. Goodness gracious. This is what I'm talking about. This is the PMGC. Wow. I mean, at the same time, chicken dinner, second place at second place. So even if I think you're a little bummed if you're Team Rejects, but you still got to be pretty hyped here, Max, man.
You got to give Ayala a leather jacket right now because he is the death rider of this lobby. He just came in on absolute fire with a DBS, takes them down one by one. What a game, and especially what a breach, because that compound, you only have some areas you can enter it from, and Loops knew exactly we got to enter from the eastern side. Reject won't be able to even have a chance in that fight, and then they just collapse on it. Beautifully executed, and that puts them now in fighting range with Stalwart for that first place position, Hot Jukes. It is going to be a race to the top here.
That's ridiculous. Unreal. Unreal, Kalaris. I mean, just look at the leaderboards here.
Yeah, you're calling him Death Rider. I'm calling him the Luminescent Man because he was just... I could not believe what I was witnessing. Like, let's move it back slightly, though, because the compound that they're actually breaching and pushing on is actually one that actually does afford teams a little bit of an opportunity to breach against. Rejects knew that they can't control the entire compound, right? So they have to fall back to a position of power for themselves or try and hold it out. But Loops did an amazing job of smoking their entry onto that compound and keeping them in the fight for quite a while. So again, Loops looks world class in these last couple of days, and you know, as much as Blank's saying he feels bad for Rejects, I still kind of feel all right for them because a first, second is pretty amazing. Consider the fight back they're bringing in day 3.
They're 4 points away from podium. What the hell? That's
Wow.
a great day.
Unreal. 4 points away, and Loops is only 7 points away from first place. This is getting crazy. I mean, the story is just so focused here on the top 3 because these matches are just getting crazier and crazier. We don't have really a lot of time to talk about that bottom 5. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of movement from them here, Max.
Yeah, not too many movement, but actually I want to talk about one fight in particular. It was Procedure Evos on the northwestern side on that mountain range to the west of the fields of Gatka. They were taking incredible fights. Luxy and Zuxy were just clutching out of control here. They eliminated, I think, Quest at one point. Some players of Quest, not the entire squad, but some of the players. And that fight, especially against Alpha 7, was so damn smooth. I love that fight. So good to see them still staying relevant, still in a range where they could, if they have a great day, catch up to top 3. But man, the top 3-4 teams right now are just looking miles ahead.
It's crazy. If Team Reject won that last match, they would be in 3rd place. They would be literally tied with Loops, and tied with Alpha 7, and on top of that, they would have been able to beat them via tiebreaker. So this is crazy. This is getting insane here. I mean, we heard them at the top of the show, Kalaris, right? That they're going to change that strategy, going towards the center, and it's just been working out for them so beautifully.
It's the interview buff. It's the Tash Bunny blessing, I think, here, live from Malaysia. It's been quite a treat watching them be kind of having this rally back in this day. I did pose the question to you guys. I'm like, I wonder what happened last night in terms of like how they were kind of looking at the games, how they were thinking about the games, what they were going to slightly adjust, because so far it's working out. I mean, even though you're not able to round it out against a clutch Gladiators moment, a clutch Loops moment and stuff like that, this is still fantastic results for a team where I didn't really count them into the top 3 scenario, and definitely not so after the first 2 days, but they're right there. I'm excited to see if they can do it.
I mean, Japan has always been a region that when it comes to local regional play, they show great moments. There's been incredible individual plays and team play overall. But when it comes to these PMWIs, these PMGCs, they always used to tend to struggle. I remember the first time I saw like Japan doing really good was back at Bluebees in what, 2020, 2021.
Oh yeah.
Man, they are popping off. They're putting Japan back on the map for this PMGC. And I really hope this is going to continue because Regio CO in particular here, Hot Jukes, he's been on fire today. I love it.
Ooh, you still got Lufa as well?
Not literally.
I mean,
that was Ayala.
That was Ayala.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Ayala just going off like crazy. And I think a little bit earlier in the tournament, we saw Ayala with a chance to clutch up a big fight. And I was saying if anybody could do it, it's him, because towards the end, this man just gets crazy. And we saw him, I believe, right, almost hit a crazy 1v4 earlier as well. So when this man's got a DBS in his hand, he just can't be stopped, Max.
Yeah, I was looking at this game. I was like, oh no, Mythic got eliminated by sort of Ayat. What are they going to do? And it's like, wait a minute. Okay, I got you guys. The Yala just clutches it up as always. But the individual fragging potential of this team is great. Even Chief at one point had a really big pop-off game, I think on day 1 or day 2. So every player in a similar way to Stalwart have a chance to clutch up if they can find himself in those kind of situations. So Loops, when you're looking at the two teams, Alpha 7 and Loops, you might be thinking, oh, Alpha 7 is the more standout team. They got that prestige from previous PMGCs. Loops are just looking right now like the consistent, aggressive Brazilian team that are looking so good.
If Luke survives to the late game, I don't know who beats them. I guess it might only be Stalwart in this group, right? Like, if you compare how these two teams are playing, they are playing a cut above the rest. And Loops in late game looks infallible. And like, I don't know how it would be to go up against them. They're making the right decisions, be it pushing into a compound and then pushing out of it. They're making the right decisions in the hillsides, playing it slow and steady. They look awesome, Hodgins.
Yeah, especially, in Erangel. I wonder how it's going to mix up when we're starting to deal with Miramar here coming up soon. But you know what? Let's go ahead and take it on over to our casters. Let's get it going.
Oh yeah, let's see what's in store for us then. All of these games have been delivering today, Blank. It feels like, honestly, the excitement, the clutch potential, and sort of surprises has only been just getting better every day. Every game we go in, it feels like we're climbing another step up the ladder. I don't know how we're keeping it so consistent with the excitement.
Yeah, so every single game seems to be absolutely wild, absolutely mad. I mean, third day, we said before, this is going to be the big one that would just cause problems for so many teams. But some teams have absolutely thrived in that chaos. I mean, Loops still proving that they deserve to be on top in terms of the Brazilian ladder, at least ahead of A7. Reject climbing up after the adjustments that they made last night. It has been a mad tournament so far. Group Green has really delivered in terms of the action, in terms of the fun, in terms of the excitement. And I think that this is only going to continue for so many teams within this lobby. And again, the boys on the desk put it was like, it's really difficult to look at the bottom side of the table when everyone on this top side is working so hard to pick up those invites. I remember that first day where we were like, right, that's it. I think A7 and Stalwart, they're just confirmed, they're in. But the way that Reject's playing, catching up A7 teams underneath them as well, doing very well, like, there could be some big difference makers here. And I don't think that third spot is at all secure for A7 right now, with Reject breathing down their necks.
Nothing feels guaranteed anymore, right? I think that's kind of the storyline we're now looking at, is somehow, some way, from where we were on day 1, where it just felt like Stalwart with this cyclone sucking up all of the points. Other teams have realized that they can turn up the aggression, they can turn up the aggro plays and just start giving it. And since then, we've seen a lot better performances across the board. A lot of squads starting to lay claim towards the upper echelons here in the final circles. How will things look though here? It is our last game of Erangel. After this, it will be the back-to-back Miramars. So if you want to try and whip out the consistency, this is the last chance to do it on Erangel.
Even that last game is really kind of a struggle of a position. I think you sort of have to say that Reject has a little bit of circle look. But at the same time, they have been playing a very different game, right? They have been heading central. They have been controlling their compounds. They have been taking space. And in these end games, it really feels that they start to thrive a lot. They make a lot of these correct decisions. They know they can control there. I think Maxman was talking about this. They gave space to a position where they could actually command a bit more presence within that final circle. So they play it right. So they're playing into their own hands right now. So I like that from Reject. You can see here they start towards farm. They had to move quite a long way to get towards that central position. It's not always easy navigating those kind of circles. So all props to them. Again, some other teams in this lobby, A7 certainly know now that they have to have a good game now. They have to get a lot of eliminations if they want to hold on to the third place spot. Some of these teams towards the bottom as well are starting to strike out a little bit more. Mad Bulls made their way towards an 8th place. We were scared about this team. We were worried about them after they got dominated on a hot drop on Sandhawk by Falcons on that first day, yet they have dragged themselves back towards a respectable position within the lobby in 8th place, just continuing to push forward.
It did feel like they were very slow to kind of, start getting everything clicking, start to look like they were all on the same page. And they had a lot of pages, if you didn't see. Awful lot of prep work in terms of the A4 sheets that were telling them where and when they needed to make their adjustments. But overall, the fact that they've thrust themselves to 8th place, whereas Gladiators that had a very similar start are still all the way down in 14, even with the bells and whistles they've been able to find today. It goes to show you can't afford those mistakes. You can't afford to have 2 rough days. Even a harsh day now this deep into the group would be a really sad state for some of these teams. But we'll see what they've got for us. There's always opportunity. You can see just how close the grouping is. Only about a fragment of 10 points difference, all the way from 12th up to 7th at this point. So big opportunities to make strides through the rankings towards the end of day 3 here. They're on our screens now at a minute as well. We'll see how Mad Bulls are able to approach this one and what they get up to over the course of the game. The other important thing I think as well, Blank, is just in terms of the firefights, we're starting to see some of the names we know can pop off, taking fights, hitting shots. Zerich warming into it. Tulika as well, looking a little bit more confident in some of these encounters. And that can go a long way.
Yeah, and I mean, you just look at this team overall. I mean, Naomi not playing as much anymore. You got Fleek, Zerich, Tulika, Frozen, all just making it happen on this team. And I like to see it overall, right? Because this is a strong squad. It's a strong roster that can all really perform very, very well into this one. I know that with this particular circle towards Rozhok as well, where they got to head very far up towards that northwest side, they have a pretty decent approach to it, right? They'll head across the bridge, they'll control some space, they'll hold teams out. So this might be a decent game for Mad Bulls to get some more points on the board, secure their position, keep themselves safe. I mean, 74 points is not bad at all, and it's nice to see a bit of EU representation from this team into this one. Where Gladiators currently still in 14th place. They had that strikeout, that magnificent match that we saw from them, but last game just really did not feel good as A7 completely took control of them. And I think there is this kind of mentality of playing as a 4-man unit a lot of times, and Gladiators, I just don't think they can get away with this 2-2 split anymore. I think these 2-2 splits work well when you're heading towards a compound that is very close to one another. You're trying to control both sides. So for them, I think a little bit of a death ball might be essential for them. But I don't want to change the way they play, because that might be the thing that's bringing them into this, just waiting for it to work, finding out where it works and getting it done from there. A lot of teams made their rotate, made their translations over towards the top side of the map right now. You got Bra Esports over towards Severny as usual. Malise Esports, we know this is a team that rotates real fast in these lobbies. They're on the eastern side of Zaki right now, looking to head towards shooting range. It's not bad at all. So most teams understand that they've got to get towards this circle early. There's not a huge amount of compounds in this area, so controlling a position this early on can be very, very important to them.
Laying claim to anything early into a game like this will be a little bit better for you. Ooh, Zerich, careful now. Close by. As they do catch whiff of what quest they're up to. Doing a secondary loop around the compound as well. So really trying to gather as much info on this as possible. Luckily avoiding the bullets that have been thrown their way. But this is a relatively fragmented Mad Bulls off the back of the contact they had down on towards quest. And they're lucky. They're lucky they don't take too much of a hefty hit from that one. No gashes, no one walking away in pain. So they'll be all right. They can reset from it and still go back to the basics. A7 on the move here as well, forming a little bit of a convoy. Oh no. Al Haji realized that Zerich fragmented off from the rest of the squad, so he's actually pushed in looking for him, trying to assess the situation, looking into the water and see if he can spot where exactly Zerich has got to. But hiding underneath the boat, he might have just avoided their eyes.
Just escape the presence. Let's keep yourself alive here. Poser goes for the initial spray on the Uzi, but A7, they're too good with it. They realize they don't want to peek in too fast, but there's players all over the place, and I think Poser might just be going down here. He was their one outpost on the eastern side. Mali's rotating so early, they had to get some loot, so they sent the majority of the team over towards Zaki to pick that up there, and then left Poser over towards this eastern side, easily overwhelmed by A7 coming through. And this looks like a good start for A7. Now they can control the rest of the team coming out from Zaki, maybe pick up some more points from there too. Al-Haji not leaving poor Zerich alone in the water there, keeping him pinned down. It's going to make the rotate from Mad Balls, or at least the regroup, a bit harder for him going forward.
Feels like everyone's willing to be a little bit more aggro in some of these games now, a little bit more quick to the draw when they find opportunities for points. You can see it's getting them so excited. The prospect of the odd elimination here and there, just what it can do for you this late into the stage. Quest still clearing up and down the coastline. No response from the Bulls yet. No aggression displayed from their side. They just wanted to make sure that they could get their man out safely, evacuate him, and then go for a play a little bit later on. Blade on the move as well, bypassing over towards where Alter Ego have been set up. So they'll take control of the coast and go for a long, safe rotate. Although Rosemary seems to have his ears perked up. He's heard some of the noise, going for the jump spot. They might want to see if there's a chance that they can fight back here, inflict some damage inside of Severny.
Yeah, I mean, for Bra Esport, who left Severny, it's going to feel a little bit bad. You can play the ridge side to the west side of Severny as well. Gives you some good chances, but I think Bra Esport was looking to try and control a lot of these teams that would be coming in from this southwest side. Now they realize, let's head back to home, boys, over towards the northeast. But it's already been consumed by a fair few teams over towards that area already. We have a lot of teams on this southwest stage. Gladiators make a quick rotate upwards. They know they want to get in early. It's been too many times now. They've been held out on this south side, been too scared to make that breach across the bridge itself. So I appreciate that from them, but close to Alpha 7, you're able to shut them down so easily. That's a worrisome move. And Alpha 7, they're out for blood this game. They know they want to keep Reject from getting too close to them. And Reject's rotate has been fairly slow. It looks like they won't be able to play too much of a central game this time around. So we'll see exactly how they can do, because it's 2 times in a row now where we've almost had to pull out the Heimlich maneuver because they've choked on those chicken dinners twice.
Been so close, yet so far. The sheer spree of chicken dinners that could have happened in a row would have been crazy, but so many small, devilish details making the difference. EX here, you're on the push-up, Alpha 7. Trying to land shots, just tracing as best they can, whilst the EX really makes some big strides here. It's like they've got a radar that detects where exactly Brome. Really just going in aggressive now. Vehicles lifting off the ground. Paradin taking bullets, but still been able to get himself down, tucks in, keeps his belly protected, reposition with a nade. Meanwhile, Lamborghini goes in with a shotty and blows away Kane.
Mate, DX just throwing themselves with these vehicles over that ridge towards Bra Esport. Kane just could not hold on at all. DBS comes through nastily, and Kakali realizes, Jesus, I've got to rotate. I've got to get away from this one. Traps himself on the fence with the vehicle. There's damage coming through from the Mad Balls, but I think they hear the vehicles above them as well, and Pazija Evos. A couple more eliminations for Mad Balls would be nice, but not able to finish off Kakali in this situation. He finally finds his chance to squeeze through the gap and get back to the rest of his team.
Oh, that's so rough, man. That's one of those where you feel gross. The second you get a little bit stuck, can't quite get over the lip, you're thinking it's all going wrong. You're going to perish like a fruit that's been left on the side of the kitchen counter for too long. Luckily, he is still alive and kicking. Same can't be said, though, for the overall confidence that Bra Esports probably have right now. is they look like they were pretty set up to handle DX, but DX always bringing up bad memories, come running on in, finding freebie frags, and gaining control of the compound that Bra previously had under the thumb. A lot of close grouping now as well. The circle's only getting smaller, and our teams are starting to arrive. We saw again Starwarp going for the fast, slower, late rotation approach, playing inside of the blue, playing for edge. Now they arrive on the scene, and this is some big dogs pulling up to the party.
Yeah, Luke's from a similar situation down in Sosnovka as well. And I think it's respectable, both those teams' ideas, how they want to play this one out, because they're so far away from the circle. They just let everyone else go in, and what they'll do instead is try and pick up as much utility as possible, as many nades as possible, as much smokes as they possibly might need to try and push through on these aims. So I like that play from them. They just fully commit to the loop because they know they're not going to be there early enough anyway. Loop's on a similar idea, but they are just shunting themselves into the circle, shoving aside over players like a linebacker, getting into the middle right now. That's crazy from Loops overall. Now they have a fairly decent position to play around with. Unfortunately, they are held on either side right now. A little Bermuda triangle appearing between them with Zia, as well as Pasija, Evo, some Mad Bulls, just all looking towards them. But they have the high ground, which is the main thing.
That added benefit might make their lives a little bit easier. Ooh, look like a little bit of damage chipping there. See ya. Looking over on towards Evo. Struggling to land a shot though. Not going to work too well for Megamind, as he hasn't been able to punish on that one. Smokes up for Loops. Chief trying to cascade as far back as he can, get himself firmly planted inside of the smoke so that his teammate in Mythic can reset and get him on his feet. Meanwhile, Mad Bulls, they're closing the gap. They're starting to push up. They're feeling like they're ready for the fight on this one. Exchange of nades as they throw them through the air, detonating inside of the smoke and looking to make it uncomfortable for Loops. Zia as well, similar kind of idea towards the top side.
My Bulls, they see an opening, right? And they look to just try and capitalize off the back of it. Unfortunately, those nades all just go fairly awry. And I think that was a lot of the nades they had on side 2 to try and finish that one down. It has allowed, like you say, Zia to get up close and personal and sent a scout out their way. SCE currently playing this ridge side, looking over towards Tiamba. If they can clear them out, maybe there's a possibility to move up towards Severny after the back of that. Play on some of the ridges there, but there's so many teams around them. They've got to find some kind of an opening through either a knock or a quick rotate away in the vehicles. Reject underneath them right now. You see Sarah as well as Regiosio coming in close contact with these players. And I wonder if he spotted Regiosio in the process. Circle moves over towards the Mad Bulls. A decent place for them to start pumping these points. But again, it's Loops from a Sosnovka start, a late rotate, who are able to get a good position in the circle. They just don't care. They will take position. They're confident to do it. And they seem to have really done their research coming into these lobbies.
They've got a good idea of how they approach every situation. Not just going off of feeling. Seems a lot more calculated. A team that has certainly been feeling the hype is on screens now. Reject Tokyo. Been playing some great PUBG Mobile today. Looking very effective in a lot of their decision making when it comes to hitting shots as well. What more can they get? How much further can they push it? Obviously the lobby right now still chock-a-block, full to the brim when it comes to our overall squads, but a few of them worse for wear than others. Couple of casualties, bringing some of them down to just triple threats. Nothing more than that though. No duos forced to fight for yet. You've got Falcons on the move. Close quarters combat could be coming their way. Bra have been playing in hiding here, and they've got to read onto it now. They dive right out of the vehicle towards the front door. Ooh, Coursera and Topsic need to be ready. The shotty up close, looking to finish it with Topsic. Wow. Assaults with the AK, throws the clip in and slays from far away as Falcons hit the DECK on that one.
That was a nice little play there coming from Toxic. Like you say, a nice little body shot from him straight to the floor. Feels the wood against his fingers and will splinter Falcons into a couple remaining members on the outside. It's very nicely done. A7 versus Gladiators is an important fight to look over towards because this team has been taken down by A7 a fair few times. But right now, there's a huge amount of damage pouring their way. Only a couple players remaining and a gorgeous nade from Tixie over the top will finish off the job there for Gladiators. That is a boost in confidence for them. Been so long that Alpha 7 have been pushing them around. But is it enough though? They've still got further to go in this circle, and Alpha 7 is just the first obstacle. It does now open things up once again for Rejects.
Rejects eating grenades, though, that might be the difference maker. But a quick snapshot. Stalwart begin to buckle. Smokes up, going for the res. Ocios needs to stay alive in this fight. And Lufa will commit to picking him up. He's been such a good teammate. If they can keep him in it, it will make a world of difference for them. Molotov still coming in, though, trying to make it uncomfortable for this medic mission to have success. And look how close we are here in terms of the grouping. I8 right on top of DX with Bra Esports and Melise basically sitting inside of the same building as well. So it's very uncomfortable. A thimble of distance between them. As soon as there's an audio cue, you can peek off the back of it. And these fights, they're starting to heat up. It's only going to get harder with the circle moving in as well.
Next stage on the board now, we'll be pulling a lot of teams closer and closer together directly on top of the Mad Bulls here. For Reject, they do take another knock on this side, but they're not going up against an easy team. And it's the second time today that Reject has challenged things out versus the guys from Stalwart, and they're still beating these fights right now. Tops goes down. Tiamba obviously has included themselves in this fight as well, got involved, making things difficult for Stalwart overall, but you've got to give props to the guys from Reject. They are living in a position that is not easy several times versus the best squad in the lobby, undoubtedly so far, and this is pushing them further and further to that third place spot. They have lost one player, still doable to get a couple more limbs on the board though. They keep getting stolen away from them. Their two targets going forward would be Prestigia Evos as well as Lux. We're getting a fight right now between DX as well as I8 and Bra Tospic. He senses an opportunity.
Chow playing behind the boxes needs to banish this man. It's a very aggressive game of ring around the rosies, but it seems like DX are starting to fall down. Oh, this is risky. Couple pumps going out with a DBS. Tries to peek over the top of the box, teasing one another, looking to at least give as good as he gets as he wants to trade back onto the down teammate. Finishes off Falak with the last pump. All into the 1v1 then. Switching to the rifle, looks to get the reload in to at least have the secondary weapon to play with. Meanwhile, Gladiators, they're being struck upon by Zia. You can see a trade as well from Mad Balls up on the surface, but down in the depths, it's the nade of Toxic that snatches that one away.
Seriously good stuff from them. Reject on their bellies right now. Just Lufa alive, trying to maintain control, but a nice spray from Cardozo might take him out. The nade just behind the tree. Loops taking damage from up on high right now. Might have saved Reject for just a little while longer, but that'll be the finish on them. And it's a stalemate once again between A7 and Reject. Both gaining 1 point in this game, but nothing more than that. Prestigia Evos, they hear this engagement. Cardozo down, now out, and they come on in, trying to third party this alongside with Tiamba from underneath. We're trying to get up the hill, and Mad Bulls having a pretty peaceful game of their own, honestly, towards that center side.
Oh, Evos. It's a nice repeak from Luxy there. Does not want anyone dealing damage onto his kin. So he peeks off the contact and supports, now playing medic as well to get him back on his feet so that they continue their reign of terror. Bra Esports fighting onto Melise in fragmented 1v1s as well. Nade pulled out for Coursera, has the SMG in case there's a swing. Does actually work. Nice connection onto CEO later. And they can try push with this. Top 6 roaming in from the sideline now as well. Big arc on the nade. Nice tag, low HP, forced to medic, not going to work out. Nade takes him down. And they've got a read on the other player's location as well. You can see him already setting up for it in terms of the utility, but hard committing onto the knocked player first.
Yeah, Tospic's been absolutely killer with these grenades this game so far. Been picking up a lot of cheeky eliminations off the back of it. Another circle, center up towards Mad Bulls, who are just revving up to take this game away now. It would be a real shame if they lose this one. This is their big chance to pump points even harder into this match. They've been climbing, and now it's time for a big old leap towards that top side of the lobby. Secure their position in that survival stage. Get a bit more prize money on board too. Gladiators and Zia going head to head. Two players trying to hold them off, whilst Kitsune provides a bit of an anchor for the rest of the players to move over towards. But it's difficult now for Tixi and Meku to move out from this area, with Zia creating so much pressure over towards them.
Smoke wall going down. Nice nade as well from Earths there. Ooh, Kitsune looking to just try and support. Problem is, Meku's already knocked, so actually making the adjustment over to assist him looks unlikely. At least the bullets do stop what seemed to be the full-on swoop from Zia, but they rev back up for the second one. Could be a 2-for-1 with a bonnet as he hits both Meku and Tixi, stops them dead in their tracks. This is worst case scenario now for Gladiators, going from them playing a 2-2 setup where they look confident to just being down in the dumps, absolutely annihilated by Zia. This is the best we've seen Zia playing, Blank. They're coming out swinging now.
Yeah, that's a nice play from Zia there. I think for Gladiators, it's just tough on that side. I do think that's a fight that's absolutely winnable, though. Going down to Zia, 16th place team, never feels good. Only 4 points added to their tally. Down to the last 9 teams now as Tospic tries to continue his reign. Keep Bra in the conversation here, up towards that 10th place in the lobby. 5 eliminations found. Luxie is down, and Loops, as well as the rest of the team, is just not letting up at all on these games. They're a little bit quiet at the start of the day, but want people to remember the name coming into this one. Already 9 eliminations found, 153 points. Soon they're going to take up a stalwart on this game, maybe claim a first place, removing it for the first time. Mad Bulls dealing with Alter Ego as they try and send in. Frozen's out, and there's more players to be dealt with. Only 1 player remaining for Mad Bulls. This is a travesty.
Oh, it's so rough as well too. Liquor missing the opening pump with a shotty. It suddenly all falls to bits as there is no room for mistakes up close against Alter Ego like that. And they can reset the fight as well. Be able to get their teammates back on their feet, heal up, and then look for their next challenge. Talking of a team that is challenging everyone right now, though, it's Zia. Their attention now moves on to Loops, second in the lobby at the minute, with 9 eliminations in this game already. But will that end right here as they're being thrust upon? You've got Shopper up close and personal, again using the vehicle to instigate the gap, trying to get right in their faces. Ayala with this DBS, we know how powerful he can be, but the rest of his team starting to cascade back. They look uncomfortable for the first time.
Yeah, it's a hard fight for them to take, and Zia just seems to have a lot of confidence this game. They've got very little to lose right with where they currently are on the standing. Alter Ego, though, their push over towards Mad Bulls was insane. Mad Bulls had one of the best positions in the lobby and just let it go so quick. This was a real chance for them to pump their points in this match. Not able to do it, and they'll be kicking themselves for that one because it was such an opportunity for them. Alter Ego now, we've got Octa, Fnatic, Rosemary trying to finish off the remaining members down there from Quest. In the meantime, look at this. 1 knock comes through over towards Zia. Ayala should be finished off here.
Oh, Earths with the double tap at the end. Not quite enough to absolutely ruin the hopes and dreams of Loops, but enough to make it almost an impossible task. Although Mythic, Mad he just sprays his way through all of them. That's a huge turn and burn. Massive resurgence of confidence and the top spot going with it, you would imagine, as they've got 12 eliminations under the hood already. They're still alive and kicking into this one. It felt like the story was about to end for Loops, but now they are commanding respect.
dude, alive and kicking stalwart off the throne as they set themselves down. Look to find themselves another chicken dinner, maybe a back-to-back here. It looks doable with the amount of players that are hurt alongside the lobby. Alter Ego, though, of a whole wealth of utility to use. Loops just roaming around with themselves a Molotov, but they take a knock from Tiamba, who's been consistently making it towards the end game as well. They're not out just yet. They are looking to get towards the survival stage. You can see they're mean, they're hungry, trying to find it here.
They want it, and they want it bad right now. Tiamba shutting down Rosemary, restricting and removing the possibilities for Alter Ego layer by layer, peeling them back to just a duo. And that's what we've got, a multi-team fight here of duos. Readjustment there from Mythic, finds one. Big connection as well onto Ren. Oh, mate.
Literally, Tiamba cannot step up versus Mythic. He's got a great position to play around with. And Chief still going strong. QZZ, he's out. Mythic looks for another peek. Just sending some bullets over that top side. Alter Ego off in the distance. Another chance for them to prove themselves. Get some points in this game. They've got a load of utility to work with, but losing a player early on, that feels bad. Setting themselves up to a 2v2 at best versus Loops, or a 2v1 versus Tiamba if they can take them out early, which they'd love to do. Octa gets nice and close towards the top of that hillside. Chief, extremely risky moves there, but reveals his position, knows where he is. They've got one nade, I think, perhaps over towards Chief. This is very nadeable for him.
Moving his way down through the smoke. Trying to at least have something to play around with here. A little bit of cover to assist his teammate in Fnatic. A single wrong move, a single foot out of place could cost you so gravely here. Even if you are just a solo man, there's still always a possibility for Ren to make a big play. Chief, though, jumps behind the steering wheel, looks to close the gap. DBS pulled out. Ren peeks off the back of the contact, bullets down range. A little bit of a tag, but no frag. Chief finishes him, and we're thrust into the head-to-head blank. Loops versus Alter Ego now.
These boys are just so aggressive. That's what you were mentioning last game, is that aggression. The MG3 coming through from Mythic, takes a heavy hit, has a Molotov in his hand, but backs it off, looks to go for the heal. Another nade over the top, just barely scrapes him, but he hangs on once again, staying alive. Another nade goes close, but he's able to sidestep it. Chief, in the meantime, just slowly peeking up, trying to get this wide swing, whilst Octa in the distance crawls his way down the hill. We're in a really difficult position right now. Loops understands the need to send Chief up the hill if they want to have a hope. Leave Mythic in a difficult scenario, but this is the way they secure the win. The back-to-back here.
It's a mirror matchup. Octa and Chief with the same idea, trying to keep their belly down to the ground. The pwn punishers that want to try to move their way into a better angle and then strike when it matters most. Nice nade coming out close, almost on the money there towards Fnatic. Everyone's so sheepish. You can see just what the tension looks like here between these sides. A single sound, a single peak would instigate absolute carnage between the four players that are still alive at this point. Mythic, he has been crazy when it comes to some of the confidence plays he's gone for. At this point, can he get first contact? Will he be able to spot them? Or will it be Chief's flank? He's right on top of them, Blank.
Octa so close to him. Chief steps up. He takes him down. Won't even find the chance to get any kind of clapback over towards Loops in this situation. Chief's behind the tree, understands the lineup, taking some sprays, trying to grab some of that information. And remember, there's still a nade in the hand of Mythic as this gets closer and closer to the finish. And Loops picking themselves up. Another back-to-back here over on Orangle, taking a chicken dinner and firmly placing themselves at the top of the lobby, Jackie.
So much for them off the back of this one win. They need this chicken dinner, and it seems like Chief knows how to take it. Call him chef as he's cooked up another chicken dinner back to back for Loops. They take two on the spin.
This is a team that is going to dominate towards that PMGC Grand Finals. They just look so slick with it. Stalwart have really slowed things down, but all the while, the boys on Loops, they've just been speeding up time and time again. Just a meteoric rise from this group green. It's just so wonderful to watch this squad at play as well, just playing off the back of one another, the trust they put in each and every member of the team. Really, really good stuff from them overall. And I think that whole game really speaks their strength, because not only was that a match that they find in a pretty difficult scenario in the end game, that's a match they play from down in Sosnovka, right? And it really does show that it's not a case of how close you are to the circle. It's not a case of getting that circle look. You make your own look a lot of times. Stalwart were barely able to get in, but Loops takes the challenge play. I love the confidence from these guys. They come in late, yet just take a ridge side. They play off the back of that. They weren't afraid to put themselves in the midst of 3 teams in that early game, because they knew they could handle it.
And handling it is what they've been doing all day today. Loops have looked so good if it comes to the head-to-head, the 1v2s, the 2v2s, no matter what sort of situation they're plunged into, the comms are so on point, but it's that aggression. The way that they approach some of these scenarios, Blank, it still looks like some of the teams in this lobby just aren't ready for it. They're that tad bit quicker, that tad bit snappier. Yeah. And honestly, how do you even prepare for that? If you've got Chief jumping out and just ripping you to pieces, Mythic wide swinging on you, Ayala ruining your lives with a DBS whilst he's burning, how can you stop it?
It's so tough, man. And I think that the difficulty for a lot of these teams is that Loops is not only just all about aggression, they're about calculated risk, right? When they go in, it's always at a moment when they feel that they're at their strongest. Right now, though, we've got 3 strong lads on the desk they're going to send you over to, and they'll carry you through the rest of this match.
Chief.
Goodness gracious. Loops get the most insane chicken dinner we have seen this tournament. This team is unstoppable, and Aaron Gale. And after that performance, I think for the first time so far in Group Green, we're going to have a new leader. I can't believe it, Max.
I mean, Hodrix, ever since day one, game one, it was Stalwart at the top. They seemed untouchable, but finally we have a new first place team. It is Loops, and really, with how they've been playing these last 2 days, I am just so happy to see them rise up so significantly. But these plays are just so good. The circle goes on the complete opposite side of the map, Kularis, from where they normally drop. The rotations early game are on point. The late game strategies are on point. They can clutch it out every single match, and they also get the first back-to-back win. What is there not to love about this team?
Yeah, they're playing on a different level right now when it comes to rounding out these games. We just came off the back of talking about how good they are in the late game, regardless of what scenario you put them in, and then they do it again here. And my favorite new thing to do whilst we're watching these games is just go Chief as he's popping off over and over, doing over 1,000 damage. That's going to be this game's noise for him, doing over 1,000 damage, because what do you say, Hot Jukes? They've looked phenomenal at every step of the game.
It's honestly ridiculous. It really is. I mean, I was screaming Mythic for a second when I saw him with that MG3, clutched up a nice 1v3. And I mean, they're firing on all cylinders. It's crazy because one game you have Ayala clutching up. Now you have Chief, Mythic. I mean, what could go wrong at this point? I mean, when it comes to Aaron Gale, they are the kings.
And you have Karatos Indus also setting really strong off angles. Maybe not the most aggressive player picking up those eliminations, but he is putting the entirety of their team in such a good position. And their position is so good right now. They are, in fact, in first place. And Brazil, I'm telling you, man, they are currently in the best year possible, Hodrix, to claim the whole PMGC trophy. That is how good of a playstyle we've seen from Alpha 7 and Loops more specifically this tournament.
You know, it's weird, Hot Jukes, because oftentimes I think to myself, yeah, okay, we've talked a lot about these top teams, but what about the other teams? It's not possible to start talking about the other teams right now, considering how ridiculous Loops looks with the way that they're playing things out. The fact that they have taken over Stalwart is ridiculous, considering that they looked amazing in the first 2 days. Stalwart still looks great. They're still playing Aaron Gale the way they want to play it, but Loops is almost not imitating that, but matching it and taking it to another level, coming late to these northern circles, just saying, we do not care about where circle 1 is. We're just going to play at our pace, and we are going to dominate the late game.
Yeah. And with the Gladiators winning, it's like, man, there's maybe some of these bottom teams are going to do well, but the top, as you said, Kalas, they're just like, oh, no, we're here to win the whole thing, it seems, yeah.
Guys, just a little bit earlier, I said that, yeah, you know what? Stalwart are such a point sponge. No one's going to even touch them. And just like that, Loops come back with a crazy performance. I mean, what else can we say here, Cal?
I'm not sure. It's great to watch the way that they're playing this out, right? Like the way in which when we see them in the late game, we're almost like, okay, well, they're going to win this out. I mean, Alter Ego, I thought that they were going to have a decent position in this game, but look at the 2v2 towards the end as well. You have Chief on that off angle where it didn't feel like Alter Ego was fully keeping track of how that off angle was going on, because again, we got down kind of snaky scenario, but the eyes on the guy. He is able to pinpoint these targets and take them out. Even when taking out Octa, using the trees, knowing that the next potential angle is going to be beyond those trees, just making sure he's got everything covered in his mind. It's awesome.
I even want to take the game a little bit earlier to what happened in the mid-game stage. At one point, we saw the entirety of Loops taking a fight towards Procedure Evos and Reject at the same time. So as a full squad, they're just holding off two teams, which on its own is just insane because those teams have been showing that they can take those fights. But during that fight, they had 3 players taking that engagement. Chief, again, it's Chief, just over to the western side, and he's just making sure that Xerxia cannot third-party that fight. It's just such a great setup that they're making sure they're always clearing their backs, and they're so efficient at taking these fights. Like, every aspect of the game is down to the letter. So efficiently well executed from this team that, you said it multiple times, Kalaris, and I have to echo this point. When they reach the late game, it just seems like they're just gonna take those wins every time. They're just unstoppable at this point.
Man, just absolute flawless execution. And speaking of flawless, of course, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsor and partner here for PMGC, Infinix, with their GT10 Pro, created for esports players. If you guys want to make some plays like you just saw earlier, go check out that GT10 Pro. Also, of course, make sure you're following all the socials as well. Check in that TikTok using that hashtag PMGC 2023, because, man, this is a tournament of a lifetime right here. These veterans, man, are just showing up in ways that I don't think we were going to see before. I mean, Chief, we talked about it earlier. Chief just snaking his way. Are you going to just sit still and just wait for the light? No, he's going to go all the way around that angle and get it done himself.
Yeah, it's such a hot start to PMGC 2023, right? These absolute legends of this game are absolutely blasting out of control. If you think about how we were seeing STE start things out, and Loops is just saying, okay, well, hold my beer. We're going to go even further than you're able to do. I didn't think in the first 2 days I was going to be saying that about any team in this group, but Loops is looking just spectacular.
You know what? We got to cool down a little bit, guys. We'll be right back after this break.
No one can stop me now. can stop me now.
Wow. You could see the intensity on their faces there. Luxy, Zuxy, you know that they are starting to feel that pressure. So are the rest of the teams as well. You know, one in particular that I got to really talk about is Alter Ego, right? They did get a nice, good, solid game there. They put some points on the board, I think, at the right time here, Max.
Yeah, a really good breach onto Mad Balls too. Unfortunately, they do lose a solo player on that pivot, but this was a very important game for them, Hot Cheeks, because before this match, they were on 73 points in 10th position, which means that they were just on the brink of getting pushed down in the bottom 5. And sure, we talked a lot about your Loops, your Stalwarts, all those teams at the top. The bottom 5, again, is where you really need to pay attention to, because right now, Alter Ego were just about to be pushed under. This game puts them back in a position where they should make it pretty comfortably in the survival stage, but we still have now 8 matches to go before we know which bottom 5 teams are going to be out, so this was the right time for them to bring those points on board.
Hey, you know what? One team right above them is Prestige Calaris, right? How do you feel about them?
Not too bad, especially for Miramar, of course, as they're kind of set in a pretty decent spot to be able to try and strike out eventually towards that top 3, but it is getting a little bit harder as time goes on, considering that barrier, those goalposts are just constantly moving. Miramar always does reward very kind of controlled 4-person play. We've seen some splits work out quite nicely, and they're not too unfamiliar with the idea of playing out those eastern circles, especially those fields over near Impala. So they have some mastery over Miramar, and I would like to see them convert that mastery.
Well, let's see it. Let's go ahead and take it on over to the desert. 2 Miramars left to go here for day number 3. Let's take it on over to Jackie and Blank.
Have they mastered their skills, Blank? Is there wood cutting at 999? We will find out once we get into the action here in Miramar. Are they ready for the dust in the wind? They will be buffeted constantly, Blank. It's horrible. It always feels like you have sand in your eyes.
Honestly, mate, it's kind of crazy, and you're right. Some of these teams have really got that wood cut into the next level, as honestly, Loops have just chopped down Stalwart from that top spot. Some crazy stuff going on. I think you've got to give a little bit of props to Stalwart, right? You know, they popped off towards that day 1 and day 2, really pushing those points higher and higher. And now Loops is kind of having their surge towards the top. There's no telling if this is going to continue for Loops. I hope it does. And with the way it's looking, it might just. So for Stalwart, let's see if they can get some good games at the end of the day, because some of their strongest matches have been here on Miramar. I'm excited for it, man. I really, really am. There's still some contenders towards the bottom that make it happen. You got Falcon over here, who are just remaining towards that survival stage. They're looking happy about it. They had a big jump up, and their best game was here on Miramar itself.
Lot of potential, exciting plays to be had here then as we move into our last 2 games of the day. Can you believe it? It feels like it's gone by so quickly. A lot of intense chicken dinners today. A lot of up and coming squads that felt like they would be down in the dumps, now starting to ascend through the rankings. Home turf for a few of our big names here then as we move into the first of 2 Miramars to close out the day in the 3rd day of play for Group Green. Let's see what we've got in store for us.
I mean, already you can see Loops dominating over here on Miramar, with Mythic comfortably sat in the top 4 elimination bracket in 1st place, really hitting some good shots. But you know what? Duello has been showing up in these stats a lot all day today from Reject, who have done a good job, keep themselves in the running, not quite able to overtake Alpha 7 as of yet, but there's still 2 matches to go. Maybe they can do it here. We'll have to wait and see. Average damage on Miramar, 705.
Mate.
Top, what are you doing?
That's unbelievable.
Astounding.
God, even that, right? Having the average damage of 2 players on Loops maintaining 500, that's pretty sick. But the fact that you have one man who, by the way, I'm pretty sure the highest damage game we saw from Tops was like, what, 2.2, 2.3k, something like that?
Yeah.
It was pretty outrageous. For his average to be that high, that's insanity.
Yeah, because he's just rolling it through, right? That's the main thing. He's keeping on rolling with that damage. And I mean, 2k damage overall, that's sort of like a team's worth just on one side. You got Aegon I8 right now taking a couple of pot shots over towards Procedure Evos, who do want to keep pumping these numbers. Another team probably with a potential of getting up towards that top 3. However, it's Reject to take a knock right off the bat here.
Reject, has their luck run out? They've had such a good day of it. Really been farming the points today. Vocalized by the fact you can see them being hard locked in 4th place, with a good distance of points between them and 5th as well. Not the best start though. Trying to detonate the vehicle in front of him as well, but you know that he's probably as good as cooked at this point. Not much of a path for his teammates to rotate in and somehow find a way to save him. So it will just be a matter of time before he expires. Levi's trying to make that a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of his team aren't really even anywhere near to him. I think Luther's got a vehicle, but highly unlikely at this point in time. He's bleeding out, and probably one of the players you really did not want to go down early for, Reject, considering Duello's doing the majority of the work on that team. At least he forces the boys from DX to take out one of their own vehicles in the area. Not likely to cause too much of a sensational hit for the rest of the team. Frozen drops out a little bit too late over towards that western side, ends up falling down the hill. Procedure Evos gets a bit of revenge over towards Aegon I8, who were taking some shots over towards them earlier. And that's a good start for them. 2 eliminations so far for this squad.
Nice way to get the blood pumping. Coming into your first of 2 Miramars here. Mad Ball's on the move as well, going for the grab on Frozen. Just at the last second there, his wick was nearly burnt all the way down, but he will be saved and brought back into the fight.
Pretty necessary for Mad Balls as well. I mean, after what was almost a gifted match on that last one on our angle, and they just lose it out to a push coming through from Alter Ego, that felt like one where they could have taken it all away. Remember, Alter Ego getting a 2nd place from the position that Mad Balls held. If they'd held on for a little bit longer, perhaps things would have been a little bit different there for them. Maybe they were able to get themselves a 2nd place. Unlikely they would win against Loops. Let's be real with it, Jackie. They are just absolutely killing it today over on the point scoring potential, as well as the team fights coming through. Know exactly what they wanted to make happen. And I think as soon as I saw Mythic with the MG3 in hand and Chief start to edge his way up the hill, I was like, I think it's over. I think this might just be a Loops win coming out of it. But they're obviously over towards Hacienda del Patron, but they make a quick movement down towards that south side. They've already got a double anchor in place with Chief as well as Mythic, so the rest of the team can move over towards them. They want to take control of all these matches so far today, which is great to see. Reject do lose that player in the end. We saw that earlier on, so 3 players going ahead with it. See if they can get some more elimination points. See if Alpha 7 can try and extend that lead between them in 3rd place.
Alpha 7. Petering off a tiny bit in some of these games. Not being able to throw it just as far as it feels like they had done in the past in terms of some of the scraps. Very unlucky, it feels like, in the past 2 games at least as well, where they have sort of had themselves thrown to the wayside on some unlucky placements of a few nades, or the peaks just not quite going their way. But for the score they've accumulated, you're 40 points behind besting Stalwart now. So if you want to move on up to top 2, there's still room to breathe. Game plan though, of course, maintain control of the upper echelons. Maintain your spot here in the top 3 and do not get lapped by Reject Tokyo. And they might take it into their own hands a bit more literally. Being able to find Lufa here as they pull up to the party. Diving out the vehicles instantly and getting the reloads in. Ready for the commotion versus Reject. Lufa, he's aware of the situation. Looking in the distance. Pin pulled as well. 5 nades in the back pocket. But the spam from the sideline draws his attention. He overextends, takes a bullet to the face and drops to his knees on that one. Sanab trades him for good with the shotty up close. OCO got an understanding of where exactly they are. But with Reject already down to just 2 players, how do you approach this? Double tap in the back seems to be the opener.
I mean, that is the best news for Alpha 7, and what a great targeted push over towards one of the landing zones for Reject Tokyo, especially the fact that they'd already lost a player as well. This just makes life even more difficult for them. So for Alpha 7, they not only profit on a point there, they also really do leave Reject down in the dumps now, looking very bad here. So great start for Alpha 7 in the sense that Reject probably the closest with the best chance at the moment to overtake them in terms of point scoring, and this is just going to secure their 3rd place for a little bit longer. Now they're more focused on getting a few more eliminations on this match, maybe getting a high placing, really taking off in terms of speed and height towards the top of this leaderboard. Really, really good play. I enjoyed that a lot from Alpha 7, taking the game into a bit more of a curious angle, in which case we're targeting Team now, trying to keep them down.
Those mind games, an understanding that you physically can take it into your own hands to deny potential point gain for some of these teams now is really interesting. It's going to be so cool to see how they play it going into tomorrow as well, being the last day for the group, where you'll really be sealing your fate. And the difference of a team deciding whether or not you make it to the survival stage, you make it towards those upper echelons, is something that you do not want to allow someone else to decide. You want to be the one to forge your own destiny and make those points right here, right now. Squad slowly on the move as well, getting themselves back in towards the zone and setting up for the 2nd stage. Mad Bull's playing a little bit slower on this one. We'll see how this changes, because something that's a little bit different already here from Stalwart is that they've been playing Edge very consistently, going for very late rotates over the course of the day. It's not what they were doing over the first 2 days. It's been a bit of a change of game plan for them, where it seems like they're almost focusing on survivability into the late game rather than playing for elimination points. Whereas here, you're already center stage. You're in the circle feeling confident, and the boon to that is also that they like Miramar. So this should be a good opportunity for them to maybe command some more respect, see if they can clap back, because keep in mind, it's not that much of a gap between them and 1st place at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a question, because the prize pool in terms of the amount of money you jump up from 2nd to 1st place, it's not a huge amount, so it might be a case that Stalwart is in fact just taking these final games where they know that they've 100% qualified to get a bit more practice on playing that Edge playstyle, because that is probably the most difficult thing to do in a PMGC environment where every single team is difficult. There's no feeder teams to just barrel your way through on that Edge side, and this is going to be very important for them to get this practice in versus some of the best teams in the world before heading towards the grand finals. Obviously, that is just a theory at the end of the day, but they are trying to get inwards with these more difficult rotations, where I think we have seen them barrel it towards the center a few more times. Losing a player right off the back, though, that seems to be a regular reoccurrence for Stalwart 2, which is going to set them back even more, making that 1st place spot very, very far away.
Bit of a slower scrap going down on our screens here as well. In terms of the spacing, you've got a lot of fights that could erupt all over the battleground at this point. Ooh, wanting to finish their meal as well. Alpha 7 instigated a firefight versus Rejects earlier on, and now they found the scraps and wiped them out blank. That's a targeted attack that pays off massively. Alpha 7 with all 4 players still alive, whereas Rejects will not be accruing any points for their efforts here.
Yeah, it's a smart play when you're super confident in your gun skill as well to target a team like that, because now for Alpha 7, any points that they get on this game is basically profit for them. They're not too worried about Pasija Evos right now with 98 points. They're fairly far away from them in terms of actually being able to score upwards. So Reject really is the main worry at the moment. So you take them out straight away. Alpha 7 now feels super comfortable. There's not a lot of stress on them right now. There's not a lot of pressure on this match of Miramar just to play it out and see how good they can do. See how many more points that they can accrue on this match and pull away from Reject, who look at the side, the road, tires slashed.
Stop dead in their tracks. Forced to try and take a bit of a slower approach on this one and build back into it. Look at the lay of the land here, man. Loops close by to Bra Esports that are actually a little bit fragmented, with a bit of a point man in Coursera playing far further ahead of the pack, as he's all the way down towards the tree line here, just using the vehicle as a little bit of cover. So he's potentially in a location to try and backstab onto Loops if the attention is drawn. Meanwhile, Stalwart again sending in Icy as the early confidence man, the man that draws all the eyes from all the other squads. He takes bullets but survives. Repeak from Icy's clean though. Kiss you, if you're gonna mess with Icy, you better take him down. You give him a chance to repeak and he will rip you to pieces.
Yeah, it's a great little shot there. And it's very difficult to kiss you back up into action. In the meantime, Gladiators hear a lot of that commotion. They make their push through, and luckily for them, Icy has already dealt with the main target in play. So they take a couple of pot shots here. The vehicles don't take too much damage. They're able to just rotate through towards La Bandita. And looking at the lay of the land, like you say, it's a bit of an awkward circle in of itself. You've got La Bandita in play, the crater itself, which does cut off a lot of sight lines over towards that west and eastern side. You also got Minas Generalis in play, so there's potential at an urban finish on that northern side. It's all requiring you to grab a lot of this information early on, and Gladiators currently are looking over towards Pasija Evos, who have settled themselves direct center towards La Bandita. In comes Matic. This is dangerous.
Oh, Tixie sprinting through the building, bullets battering off of the door as well. Zuxi with the utility dashes the Molotov to try and close the gap. Meanwhile, Watic, he is running in the back line. He's trying to keep his head down. Has nades to work with as well. Forced out because of the util that Luxy threw his way. Buying time for his teammates on a rotate, so at least he has some backup here. The boys from Gladiators arriving now because they need to help out their mans. Matic is all on his lonesome. Down towards the close wall. Nades going into the upper floor of the building. Link backs off from it. Trying to double back and get into a bit of a better spot here. At least resolving the initial conflict for now. They can slow it down, wait for a mistake to be made, wait for someone to peek into this. The nades again reinstigate it. Coursera seems to having a bit of a nightmare as well for Bra Esports. And this is looking risky. Meanwhile, flicking over to the POV of DX, it's Parajin that strikes against Zia as Shopper. He's being cut to pieces.
Yeah, DX are just not accrued as many points as they might like today. They're still doing fairly decently in terms of getting some here and there, which is nice to see. But I think DX would have loved to have got towards that position where they could strike out towards that top spot of the lobby at the end of the day. Really, right now, there is just only one position over towards that top side. One left remaining ticket to secure your invite, and that is the place that a lot of teams are just battling their way in for. Great shots going through over towards Zuxi as he's forced to back off here as Gladiators try and control and maintain more and more ground. In the meantime, Zuxi's actually gone down, so a good first initial pickoff for the Gladiators. They try to maintain more and more control. Kitsune with the nade kind of spots that they're going to try and pick Luxy up here, and there's potential to grab a second knock off the back of this.
Back behind the driving seat and on the move, Zia waiting for the contact here. Megamind, his grey gears are turning. Seems like he has an understanding of how he wants to approach this one. Few bullets spammed into the back seats of A8 vehicles. They're going to go for the wide swing around. They see the players in the distance, but they're just thinking about circle right now, trying to get themselves into a safe haven, a location where you've actually got some cover and can calm down a little bit. Play for the longevity on this one. Bumpy roads, but they arrive where they want to be. Can jump into the compound and start to let their heart rate settle a little bit. Popping the meds for now and resetting from this.
You're a bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu going off in the distance as well between A7 and Loops, as A7 look to have put Loops in a bit of a headlock right now. Only one player remaining from that team, which is Cardozin, off towards that western side. So not only do they take out the chasers behind them in Reject, but they're also looking to chase up towards that second spot too, it seems, as Loops is getting further and further down. 162 points. I mean, it's doable tomorrow to overtake Stalwart potentially, but they also don't want to let first place get too far away either. This is overall really cool gameplay from all the squads here on the maps, particularly A7, who have definitely felt the need for speed at the end of the day here on Miramar. Malise taking shots over towards Mad Bulls, coming in from the backside, but a nice little spray down will take down at least one of them out the vehicle.
Bullets being spammed into the back here. Malise right in the faces. And Mad Bulls can't handle it. It seems like they've been overwhelmed. Frozen looking to line up the nade through the window as well. Has a great understanding of how to arc this one. Looks like it had a bit of a bounce, but it will still land on target, connecting onto Kisyu and taking him out of commission. So Mad Bulls looking like they were losing their grip on this one, but they grab it straight back and pull themselves into the forefront. Meanwhile, the clash continues for DX. Chow throwing nades out the window, trying to smoke himself, but set ablaze by the Molotov. Doubles back and looks for a secondary angle to try and peek this one. That's Earths drawing all the attention. Meanwhile, Megamind and Shopper are down the bottom of the gulch, jumping in the vehicle to have some speed to play with.
Trying to get further up here. This is towards La Bandita, and it's a huge amount of teams all locked in this area right now, Jackie, towards the south side, who have to breach over towards the northern edge. Right now, Gladiators have got a huge amount of control. They weren't able to finish off Luxie here, but the way they've set themselves up, they've got a nice cross along that northern edge, which means Pasija Evos is likely going to be the first to face it. Not only that, they're one of the only teams on this south side that's still in the circle. A really good opportunity for Gladiators to pick up a lot of points, but do they have the gusto in them to do it? Do they have the determination to pull this one out the bag? I have questions, Jackie. I have worries. We'll see what happens in the future.
We don't have a crystal ball that could give us a good answer on this one because it's such fine margins. So many little things that are painting this big picture right now. Slowly but surely, the squad's moving forward. Numbers starting to dwindle across the board. Teams beginning to thin. Falcons up on the angle here, putting bullets towards the eggs. Looking to lay claim to a couple of eliminations. Meanwhile, Frozen, he's been struck and taken down by one of the Bra Esports boys, being able to get into their grill and look for aggression here. Big spread of teams. Alter Ego in the clash versus Malise take the first blow. Seems like Gladiators as well, trading name for name as they go down right in the back of the plane, fighting towards Evos. Evos, you've got high ground with this. Utility either side as well. Matic backing off. Falcon still scrapping above them, looking for a peek through the window, back exposed, couple of bullets connect onto Luxie, but still not enough to make them swing into it. They're still waiting for that moment when they feel fully confident to engage. And meanwhile, Zaxi looking for the reposition as well.
This is what I'm talking about too, though, with the fact that Pasija Evos will be the first to face any team starting to breach across on that south side of La Bandita, as all A7 actually has moved in, taking a shot over towards Pasija Evos, took one of their players down. DX, like you're saying, still battling off versus Falcons, hitting some lovely shots over towards them as they try and manage the way, the push through the blue, but it's just not happening so far. The battle back has been good, but it's only one player down for Falcons. Chua comes through with the DBS, isn't able to handle it. Just Parajin now left remaining, exploded, and Falcons can move on with all four players still remaining. Stalwart keeping things happy over towards this northern side. They've got Alter Ego surrounding them, but they can live this one out a little bit longer.
Slow and steady wins the race in a position like this, where a single misstep can cost you so much in terms of your tournament lives. Bra Esports just lurking, waiting, listening for an opportunity to try and make the move. Nice nade, knocks the aim of Alpha 7, but it's too little too late for Topsic. He can't actually make the distance, has to suffer and go down to the play zone, giving up the potential there. So he's removed from the equation. Alpha 7, they're going to be happy to reset. All 4 still alive. You can build from this. It's a 9 elimination game. They're gunning to try and stay within this top 3, within this upper echelons, and potentially push even further. If they've already found 9, how many frags can they get before this one ends? Stage 6 coming up as the zone's going to get even tighter. Less room to breathe, more room for error.
Right on top of Tiamba as well, holding a strong position in this compound towards the middle side of Minas Generalis. Everyone's going to have to push towards them on what is pretty open zone. A lot of these teams at Labandita Crater will have to battle this one out because there is potential just to play that lip up towards the northern side. A7 might even be thinking about it themselves. So one of these teams is going to find themselves a decent position off the back of Labandita. But who will win out? Falcons, who got here late, haven't really joined the party. Gladiators weren't able to shut down the boys from Pasija Evo, so they've got away with all 4 players, and it was a real stalemate in this position. The main thing is they have survived this. Alpha 7 take down Tulika and the rest of the Mad Bulls, now up to 11 eliminations, further extending that lead. They teased Reject with a 4-point gap, and Reject was not able to catch up, were not able to grasp out and pull themselves further, and now A7, they're just going to leave them in the dust.
Talking of being dusted, that seems to be what's happening for Evos, being dusted with a fine peppering of bullets, replying straight back though, as Sanab will be struck down. Alter Ego also finding the backdoor approach, so they strike onto Alpha 7 whilst their attention is drawn the way of Evos, meaning they've bitten off a little bit more than they can chew here. Rosemary as well. Oh, these are some crisp shots, Blank.
Yeah, killer with that SLR there, getting a lot of work done alongside it. Some decent headshots. And A7, currently in the circle though, and it's Pasija Evos that have to chase. Look at this though, Falcons got such a good read over towards Gladiators. Both teams will have to move at the same time, and it's all up to who hits the shots first. If you can send them back with a barrage of bullets, get a lot of damage done, it'll be good for you. But Rosemary still popping off. This is where it gets tricky. You have to push out from the blue. 2 go down already. There is at least 1 frag over towards Falcons, but it's just not enough as Gladiators left this way too long.
They look slow. They look sluggish. They were confident at the start, but the longer the game went on, the more they turtled, the more they played defense. And right now, it's a tenacious offense that's hitting them as Falcons hold from the top of the hill. Bullet after bullet, they get left feeling ill as Evos aggress onto them. And it seems like the Gladiators' run in the arena is ended short. No one is going to be happy with that finish. It felt like there was a chance that they could project themselves a bit further today, but short endings here. Aggression coming out from Zuxi. Up close with the shot, he takes the blow towards Alter Ego, and silence is won. Zuxi as well found time to go for the heal. Wants to try and play off his teammates. So many down players on either side all around. His decision making has to be smart here. Prioritizes the fight onto Rosemary in the distance. Needs to keep himself out of trouble though. If he goes down, it'll all be wiped off the face of the game. Instead, looks for the Reds, can play off his teammates, then go for the knocks.
Yeah, massive split coming through from Alter Ego. And you wonder how much of a throw this kind of is from that team. They let 2 players stay up. Pasija Evos is just going to take down both of them as Luxy sprinted over towards his brother earlier on. Misery might be a pickup as well for them, get them back into the game. Tiamba, though, still have maintained this compound for so long. Very hard to breach. We'll see if Tiamba can pull this one through, see if they can get themselves their first chicken dinner of this tournament. It would be nice to see.
They're due a win at this point. They've been fighting so hard, but you got to get it over the finish line. That's what it's all about. For Alter Ego, a misplay that might cost them gravely. Fragmenting so hard into a 2-2 setup. Didn't work out well. What can they do with the duo that remains? Ooh, close quarters combat for Quest. They're sprung upon. as Falcons pull up to the party and look to do something nasty. The weapons finding damage all across the board. Rosemary replying back though onto 6 from a distance, still trying to at the very least secure elimination points, even if placement is now going to be far harder for them. They've got 7 in total at the minute, being bested only by Evos with 8 in their total tally.
Yeah, I mean, for Falcons, they just bash directly in towards Quest there. Octa likely to go down. You're right, though. They're just trying to pick up as many points as possible from that high ground positioning they had. Alter Ego up to 8 elims now with a top 7 at least, but not ideal. They'd rather have got into that top 5 there. So many teams finding these survival positions, and it really is Pasija Evos, that position I talked about earlier, right on the lip of La Bandita. Gives you a lot of control over this area. Unfortunately, does not stay over towards that position, moves further over towards Tiamba, and now Pasija Evos, they need to clear out as much area as possible if they're ever going to hope to get down this hill and off this horrible bank. Rosemary gets picked off, and that's Alter Ego out with 8 eliminations. Tiamba, this is a play that's very much in their wheelhouse, right? They've done this over towards their region. Let's see if they can pull it off here. Lovely Molly comes through, and you know what? Pasija Evos might just have made it. A huge amount of damage is barreled their way, though. Can they survive this with 3? It will be a monumental effort if they can.
If they can weather the storm here and survive, that could be the clinical factor. But Luxy expires too low on HP to keep himself in it. The longevity not there for him. But we do draw into the final 4. Stalwart with a solo king looking to deal some damage. But you're talking of damage, and that's coming straight out from Zuxi, forcing them up towards an 11 elimination total at the minute, as he just slays Falcons in seconds, putting them down in the ground. Absolute insanity now. Surely all attention has to be turned to Tiamba, the only squad with 4 players alive. Evos and Stalwart would basically have to play together here to fin the herd. Who's going to get that second place out of these 2? That's got to be the big question. But Tiamba, they're gunning for their chicken dinner.
I mean, it's the freest chicken dinner they've ever got, right? They didn't pay a dime for this bad boy. Stalwart, though, I think we have to mention them somewhat because, again, they're towards this top 5, never leaving it for Loops, despite getting some insane performances game to game. Stalwart are never outside of these top placements, and it makes it difficult to profit over them. So, even though they got ahead, just like Stalwart Icy might just be looking for himself a second place as he looks to remove the other team that is in contention. Some nice shots from him, trying to lock it down, but the blue will push him in. Can only step up for a second, wants to secure it here and now, able to take out Zuxi. Is it too late though? I think it is.
Expires to the zone. Had full confidence in himself and fair play. It's the only option you had. Take it into your own hands and try and guarantee the second place, but unable to survive the damage from the blue. Unable to get both of the frags he needed. Leaves it all on Misery, that right now is probably going through an absolute misery, as he will lose that one. Gives up the goods to Tiamba as they secure it and take a chicken dinner. Like you said, an absolute freebie blank. Just playing the percentage game, not over egging the pudding at any point, playing it very smart and being gifted some good scenarios that they took with both hands.
Yeah, I mean, they've seen this circle before many times in their own region. I think I even watched a win where they went to this exact location, made the exact same rotate. The circle came over towards them, and they won off the back of that. It's almost hilarious how similar it was. It's a 2-elim game with 328 damage. It's a freebie. You'll take the 12 points, but Tiamba needs more than this in future. It is a little bit of a good boost for them going forward, considering how far they are down on the tables. But yeah, it's not impressive whatsoever. I think what is impressive, on the other hand, is Pasija Evos. They played some tough terrain. They played through some awkward areas, pincer between Gladiators and the army of teams that sat at their backs towards La Bandita. Still able to deal with A7, hold off the push coming through from Alter Ego. There was a lot of special moments there in that game for Pasija Evos, and Zuxi and Luxy, the twins, they made it look pretty decent alongside with the 2 other players on their team. It's just a nice, well-knit unit for them now. Every single player to their strengths.
It's exactly what you want to see there. And still more action to come your way. One last game of Miramar today, so join us for that. But for now, let's get back over to the desk and talk about the action we just saw.
Tiamba get a chicken dinner served to them on a silver platter. And honestly, they needed it. They needed it real bad. This is one of those teams that was in that bottom 5, and they were able to clutch up some serious points here, Max. And hey, Falcon got some good points on the board as well.
Yeah, I mean, Falcon, I was really happy how they were playing the southern eastern edge of La Bandita, clearing teams like Deep Xavier, then having a good overview of teams trying to leave La Bandita, like Gladiators, like Procedure Evos, trying to pick up those eliminations left, right, and center. So I'm really stoked with how it was played out by Falcons, because they were tied with Tiamba just before this game, Hotjukes, with 73 points in 12th and 13th position, respectively. So this is great for them to push up in the rankings and hopefully make it into the survival stage. But those elims of Procedure Evos, god damn, they were fragging out from the get-go.
Unreal. And honestly, I think almost all those eliminations were on the side of Zuxi by himself here, Kalars.
Yeah, they were. Really happy to see 8 or 9 elims going his way. Just fantastic stuff once again coming out from Procedure Evos. And I'm happy to see kind of, because they came through the south side of this circle, which was very thick with teams. So being able to survive through all of that was fantastic. I've been thinking about how to frame this kids meal 2 chicken nugget chicken dinner for Tiamba, and I can't really beyond, as you say, being served it on a silver platter. It was a tiny chicken dinner for Tiamba.
Just a little snack. So small. A little baby snack. We'll take it to the bank, that's for sure. Let's take a look at the change, though. Oh my gosh. Okay, a little baby snack,
Whoa.
but that pushed them all the way up to 8th place. They'll definitely take that right here. Remember, guys, bottom 5 are eliminated. There's only one match left here, guys, right? One more here today, and then tomorrow it is just all she wrote for 5 of these squads. And I am so surprised to see some of these names here, Kalars.
If I'm being critical here for a moment, and I do always want to be honest with the audience, I do think Tiamba is capable of more than what we've seen through them the last couple of days. But
Yes.
they have sort of been coasting in this tournament so far. But hey, I mean, if it gets you into the survival stage, I don't think that they're a contender for top 3 at present. There's no way they're going to be able to catch up with that moving goalpost going along. So you're aiming for survival, regardless of where you get between 4th all the way down to avoiding top 5. It's going to be good enough by the looks of things.
They're kind of in that salvage mission kind of situation where they're just trying to, okay, we just want to make it into the survival stage. If we make it there, we might have to adapt our playstyle. Right now, we just need to get those points. And a game like this, sure, they do get themselves the win, but as you already said, Kalaris is like a very small chicken dinner. Only 2 eliminations on board. You want to try and rock up a bit more just to remain safe currently on the rankings.
Sure.
But it's just, it should be enough. But they do the wide wraps, but when it comes to taking fights, I feel like that's where they really struggle the most.
By the same token, I get it though, right? Like, if you to play devil's advocate, I'm being a little bit critical of them here, but when you've got a compound like that and the circle does keep navigating towards you, and with the terrain that exists there, you've either got people lying down in the fields north of you, which are probably just kind of scraps here and there anyway, from the fights that they've had, kind of folding down in from the north of that circle, or everybody's up the hill already having fought against each other in La Bendita, and then it's just wounded teams coming down from it. Just play it out, let the circle come to you in this kind of scenario, and just take the win.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do with that situation. I mean, of course, we want to see teams really maximize that potential. When you get those kind of dream circles, you want to see that with a ton of eliminations. Unfortunately, with that kind of zone, Tiamba weren't able to really get that conversion. But at the end of the day, right, they were still able to rocket launch themselves out of that 11th place cutoff all the way up to 8th. 11th place is the goal at a bare minimum for squads. And, looking over at 11th place, we got currently Mad Bulls sitting there with 79 points. Quest is below them by 1 point, Bra by 2, and Gladiators with 65. Man, I think if you're Gladiators, it's top 3 time right here and right now, Max.
Yeah, they can still make it, right? But it's so weird because at the top of the rankings, it's clearly solidified itself as like Loop, Stalwart, Alpha 7 Reject, like all those teams, they're not going to budge, right? But the bottom of the rankings, it is moving pretty much every game. And I think it is going to be for 1, 2, maybe 3 teams in the bottom of that top 5 that are going to be able to push their way into the survival stage on that last game tomorrow. I think it's going to be that close, Hotjukes, so far, because these fluctuations are all over the place. It's really, really hard to predict. You just need one good game like for Tiamba. They jumped up to 8th position in a singular game, and that was only with 2 chicken dinners. That is how close it currently is on the bottom of the rankings. So it's very unpredictable to know who's going to be able to avoid that bottom elimination top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that, Tiamba could still get eliminated here. That's how close this is, right? So some teams at the bottom really start popping off together. Something could happen here. And honestly, Loops are now in that position that we thought Stalwart was going to be in. They have such a ginormous lead here, and they can continue with that. If they get a good game here, Kalaris, tomorrow they're going to have so many points that they can almost do anything they want in the lobby.
Yeah, they're feeling quite comfortable. I mean, depending on how they want to approach things, right? Erangel is the half of your games throughout it, and they're coming in late anyway. So a lot of what they have as an impact on the lobby is just them, slowly moving in. And if anybody gets in their way, they've got to be careful.
Well, are any of these bottom teams going to be able to clutch it up in the final match today? Jackie Blake, that's my question to you. Which one's going to be able to get it done?
Oh, you know what? I'm feeling that we're getting towards that sort of time of day where Stalwart need a chicken dinner. Their bellies have got to be empty blank. Surely it's about time they whip out the extendo fork and shove it straight in.
Yeah, they're hungry, man. They extended the long fork. That's what we needed, man. We needed this created, all right? At the long fork for Stalwart, they want to get themselves that chicken dinner. I think it's so unnecessary at this point. I feel like people are starting to think they're just not that much of a threat. I do believe, though, this idea that every single game they're getting towards that top 5 is a little bit frightening, especially when we go towards that grand finals. A team that is just so consistent like that, with a couple of good games, they can really send themselves ahead. Here's a team that keeps making some fairly decent decisions, but just can't follow up from there. It's like, they have a plan, but it feels unfinished, right? They're not getting towards that end game of Gladiators. They need to start thinking about what they want to do once they get towards minute 18, minute 15, because that's where they start to struggle. And this is really their last chance to shoot themselves towards a position that will look good for tomorrow. Right now, everyone else, including BRA ahead of them, is ahead of them by quite a bit. 65 to 77. That's the jump up from 14th to 13th. And then from 13th to 8th place, that's 77 points to 85. It's real close. So for Gladiators, I think their main job for this match is to get 10, 11 points on the board. That's all you need. It's not a big task for you, but it is possible. But at this point in time, Jackie, I just think there's more teams deserving.
Everyone's been playing their best. Everyone's been putting their best foot forward. We're talking about that extra sort of 15 to 20% that needs to come out in an environment like this when you are at the Global Championship. And for some of these squads, we're seeing it more than others. Last game of the day today. If there is any room to impress, any room to show us what you've been hiding up your sleeves, now is the time to pull it out, because this is one of your last opportunities to gain points. All of the games tomorrow are going to be absolutely ruthless, and a single mistake could cost you your tournament live here in Group Green. Surviving to, at the very least, make it to the survivor stage is going to be a big prospect. We've got the play path on our screens. Let's see how this goes as we get into our last Miramar for the day.
It's got to be a big one from some of these teams. You got to set yourself up for success tomorrow. You do not want to be on the back foot moving into that first Sandhawk, especially when we still got hot drops going on and you could be out in a snap of the fingers, right? That is the scary thing of it. Precision Evos getting themselves quite a lot of points in the last game, up to 115 right now. Sat just a little bit behind Reject. Two teams now challenging off for that third place position. The only one that looks a little bit open there. But the way A7 played that last match, 11 eliminations by around about minute 15, was absolutely mega from them. Let's see if they can do a similar thing here. Let's see if they chase down Reject, try and put them in their place again, because Precision, they're a little bit too far away to be messing with this early on. So is the circle. Hard down towards that southeast side. Tiamba might have just been thrown another bone.
Tiamba, off the back of the chicken dinner that felt like it was gifted their way. Are they going to be fueled? Are they going to be re-energized? The extra bit of protein giving them an extra leg to stand on, again with the circle favoring them off the back of the get-go here. Also, another big question for Stalwart. How do they adapt? How do they play coming into this? They need to show us that it's not just a fluke. Keep other teams scared of them, because that's the one element you don't want to lose. The fact that yesterday everyone was scared to play against you. Talking of being scared though, this is like one of those Halloween horror houses. Ayala, he's standing there like down a dark corridor. He's got a hatchet and he's waving it around. Everyone's screaming.
It's terrifying, that moment. I do like that Al Hadji had the plan, though, right? You saw him chase down the vehicle in those dire moments, trying to steal it away and drive off. That would have been hella cool if it did happen, but unfortunately not to be, as Loops picked themselves up the first point of the match there, leaving them with 63 players remaining. But it's all about this position down towards the southeast side of the map, right? Persija Evos right now looking to chase Alpha 7 in that third place position. The Indonesians looking to secure a spot towards the grand finals, punch their ticket towards Turkey.
DX on screens here. Now DX, some of the games we've seen from them have been quite impressive. They're still going to want to add a few more points to the coffers though. Get a bit more out of today. Loops, they've had enough points. My God, have they been giving it. Popping up in the stats here as well for total elims. I mean, this kind of vocalizes probably the reason why they've been playing so well. 3 of the 4 players in the top 4 for total elims. 35, 32, and 30. Matching top even. Who's been an absolutely unsatiable fragger. That's crazy.
It's sort of ridiculous, right? That if you take the elims alone, be at 5th place right now, which is insane. Luckily for Persija Evos, they'll lose Zuxi right off the bat. Really set yourself up for tomorrow to chase down Alpha 7. Try and take away their ticket, remove it, nick it, steal it, and make it your own. And I think for Persija Evos, losing Zuxi like that is really not ideal. He's actually been stepping up in a big way that we haven't seen for years now, since 2020. And I think that losing him might just cut the confidence of Persija Evos just a little bit. 3 players still doable into the future here for this team. We'll see what they can get done. A couple of eliminations, maybe a decent placing would be nice. And with Alpha 7 being incredibly far away from the circle itself on the western side of El Pozo, there is a good chance that they could get stopped early on here, Jackie.
It's a pretty high possibility. Kakali needs to get those extra off-road wheels on that vehicle. Not equipped for it at the minute, bumping into rocks and rubble. And rubble is what they could be left looking like if things don't go their way here. Is you've got a 3-pronged attack from them, at least taking some compounds to set themselves up in. But I8, they've got a good spread on this. Nice high ground to play with as well. And they're just going to be peering down. Looking for a little bit of a double back though. Not overcommitting to anything yet. Don't want to throw the first hand their way and make any mistakes. Alpha 7 on screens again here as well as they are on the move. Alpha 7 feels like they've been really cruising close towards 2nd place the entire event. Always popping up in the final circles, always having eliminations that are giving them an extra point score to work with. Today, though, they have been 2nd to Loops in nearly every situation. And Loops are the big dogs on top of the pack, 180 points ahead of Stalwart even. A huge shake-up considering where we were at the end of day 1. Ooh, DX. Close by towards Zia. Zia definitely been a lot more confident going into fights today, Blank. It's one of the few times we've seen them scrapping and actually getting some elims under their belts over the course of the past 3 days.
Yeah, just struggling to get a little bit further into the game, though, has Zia. That's their only issue. They start off looking fairly strong, for our esports will be weakened, though, on the other hand, with Coursera going down first, which seems to have happened quite a few times today, losing him off the bat. But he was just trailing behind. Unfortunate circumstance there. Tiamba close to Mad Bulls. Mad Bulls' usual drop in their region is Puerto Paraíso, and they instantly take precedent over here, actually. Looking over towards Tiamba, they understand, they know this ground very, very well. So Tiamba could be in a little bit of trouble here, but there's a nice spread from them. They're keeping it safe, keeping it clean. They've got a couple of anchors that could go for some nice backstop shots over towards Mad Bulls if they step out too far. In the meantime, so many of the teams have just cramped themselves in over towards the southeast side. Circle could still head over towards the west, which would create a real chaotic rotate from a lot of these teams who are on the eastern edge of these cliffs. But I think most teams wanted to secure these high ground positions early on, just in case we did see a southeast shift.
Tulek up behind the driving seat at the minute. Mad Bulls, oh, they've been up and down like a metronome, constantly swinging back and forth. And it's a shame. It felt like they were starting to get themselves into a bit more of a consistent groove with some of their earlier affair today. But it's been hard for them to maintain it. I don't imagine it's going to get any easier here as well. Circle starting to close as we move into the second stage. A lot of big rotations to be made for some of these teams, but this does bless a few of our other squads a little bit more here. Sour now being gifted a bit more zone control and also centering up around rejects. Sarah and the boy is going to be happy with this one, feeling like they've been able to locate the dead center instantly, and what would have been a very long rotation for Gladiators is now halved.
Yeah, shortened considerably, which is really, really nice for them. Reject, like you say, get themselves a center position. This is where they've been performing at their best today. That's where they've been looking the cleanest. So Reject happy with this. Another team that wants to climb even further towards the top into that day 4 where every single match counts more than anything else. Stalwart on that northern side. He said they were looking for that chicken dinner and they've set themselves up with 4 players. Not lost anyone right off the get-go just yet. No one's gone off the rip. So this is decent. This could be good, but a Los Leones finish, that would be so crazy for an end game for us today. We've had massively mad matches, one after another, and I can only expect another to come at us very, very shortly. DX as well as Falcons taking a little bit of damage against one another, but DX currently set up inside the concrete and the longhouse. 6 wasn't going anywhere.
No, 6 needed someone to watch his 6 there, and his 9, and his 1. Unfortunately for him, there wasn't enough teammates to cover the whole clock face, so he goes down. And the rest of the boys on Falcons getting punished as well. Oh, this is not ideal. This is an endangered animal blank. Falcons, they need some protection right now. They need to be put into some sort of society to defend them because they are just being abused by the local hooligans that are DX. They're throwing stones at birds, blank. You can't be doing that.
It's just cruelty at this point in time. I think for Falcons as well, like the way they're playing on this edge side, they wanted to get further inwards, get some of these compounds ahead of them. They had a pretty good safe plan for them, but DX has just held them out nastily. And for Falcons in a position where they're in 9th place right now, 84 points, so close to the border, when you think about the fact that right now 13th place 77 to their 84, so easy to drop down out and into that bottom 5 where you would be going home tomorrow. So for Falcons, again, this day has just not been pleasing to the eye whatsoever, and it was probably the one day where they wanted to have a big performance, where they wanted to jump further up that ladder. DX understand this. They've been playing their cards pretty safe, pretty close to their chest, just trying to get minimal points per game or an average amount to where they can stay within like around that 4th to 6th position, and that's exactly what they've done. They're in a spot right now where it would be difficult for them to drop out of the survival stage unless there was a massive amount of performance gain from a lot of these teams down below. Gladiators, again, a nicer rotation from them. It was slightly assisted, like I said, by the circle moving over towards the west, and now they have a lot of control over this western side. There's not a lot of teams around here. They're going to group things back up again, and they can just start taking pot shots off over towards teams on that eastern side. But Loops, they've identified their position, and it's not a team that you want to have eyes on you from.
big brawl between some big names seems to be what is developing. You can see it bubbling up like a pasta pot. They're all getting ready for this scrap. STE playing from the high ground. Rejects close by with Tianba just down towards the wayside as well. Eyes on the prize. OCO lining up the nade. Strikes down with it. Meanwhile, Lupa takes control of the ground floor. Ooh, timing on a repeat as well. Looking for a follow-up shot. Got caught on contact as he flanked through the open doorway. Oh, this isn't looking good with the shot here. You're going to be overwhelmed on the peak. OCO unable to handle it. Crumbles because of it and goes down. So you've lost 2 members of the squad, severing them and leaving them in a far worse position now. So for Reject, it gets an awful lot harder with just 2 of them remaining. Only a single elim secured over the course of this one so far as well. Honing into what Melissa are up to, they're having a bit of a late rotate as they'll be pulling up towards the circle finally. But look who's ahead of them, Alter Ego. And they've got control of a shed. Love a good shed, these guys. Quest waiting for an opportunity to strike as well. They actually had a pretty good position. It felt like they were trying to get an angle to backstab onto Gladiators. Instead, though, they've gone a little bit too far around and exposed themselves onto Alpha 7. And Alpha 7 do not take too kindly to anyone sneaking up on them.
Yeah, I think for Quest, it is just a reoccurring trend right now that they do expose a lot of their rotates to sightlines from teams that they sort of should expect to be in these locations. Even just losing players off the get-go at the start of the game is unfortunate. You talked about Reject there as well, man. So sad they lose 2 players there to Tiamba, a team that's trying to start to chase towards that 3rd place spot. And I think the issue you find right now for Reject is that 2nd place curse is just starting to catch up to them. It's got to be hard on the mental, no matter how good you are in terms of that emotional capability right in these games. Getting that 2nd place time and time again where you thought you set yourself up so well for that win. You know, it would be a very, very different story if they got those back-to-backs right earlier in the day. I think they would feel a lot more comfortable to make these games play, but it was just so close behind Alpha 7 that every single game just feels bitter, right, if you go down early on. So I feel bad for them, but again, you do need to win those engagements. You do need to win those games where you are set up for a chicken dinner, and losing them like that is also sort of unacceptable. And I would say that's a reasoning behind them not being in that top 3. So what towards that north side, a team that looks like maybe this is the one for them. They've got the high ground on that northern side, Jackie. Looking down towards Loops, their direct competitor between 1st and 2nd spot.
Is this where they get back into a driving position? Again, regain some of the confidence. It feels like they're starting to lose. They're playing smart, sure, Blank, but you want to see that confidence. You want to see them with their chests even puffed out, looking like they're ready for any engagement they're thrown into. Loops, they strike first, swinging into action versus Quest, and looking to instigate this one. At least finding the opening picks up quite easily. Ooh, Sheesh takes a couple of bullets. He's got a double back because of it. Ayala still focusing in the right direction. And that's going to be where Gladiators are coming from. Rolling over the hills. Bullets downrange right on top of them. So they've got to split off a little bit. Going to the 2-2 setup. Alter Ego and Melise. This is one that's been developing for a while, but there have been no real commit. Again, CEO later just looking for info, but not hard swinging. Nades being thrown into the distance. His teammates getting a little bit aggro, playing the stuntman as they go flying through the air in the vehicle. Now you've got to swing, surely. This is your prime opportunity to look to clean up on Alter Ego.
Yeah, Mali's coming in with the Thompson on Lewis. The shots back coming from Rosemary, but he's quickly put down here, and Kiss You look to finish off those final players. Mali's just so good at slowly chipping away at your forces. Only Fnatic as well as Alva remaining here as he tries to get away from this one. Beautiful shots through the smoke. Will lay him bare. Alva tries to hang on as long as possible, but his fingers are slipping, and so are Alter Ego from this game.
Alter Ego don't know what happened coming into things today, Blank, but it feels like they've been struck with that unlucky stick and they've had some real close runnings where things have gone that thimble wrong and it has all tumbled down. The snowball effect on Alter Ego has been huge today, not hitting their shots as much as well. Usually it feels like Rosemary able to really let it rip like some sort of metal Beyblade. Not today, though. He has been kept silent. Levi's playing a far more methodical style and approach himself, trying to be stealthy in the backline. All of the attention of A7 drawn onto his teammates in Lamborghini and co, but they've sniffed him out. Nades thrown in Blank. Levi's got to make the adjustment, switches to the sidearm, tries to get to a better position, shot in the back, and he's legged.
Yeah, he had to be quick with it, right? And he was sprinting away. He knew he had limited time, but Alpha 7 not likely to let him just leave like that. Lamborghini off in the distance. His teammate will just be leaving this one alone as Alpha 7 continues to get further in towards this match. And Belize Esports doesn't really have sightlines over towards them with a ridge that sits between them. Next circle, though, will be hitting us soon. Will it end up in towards Los Leones, where most of these teams have set themselves up? Or will Gladiators get a chance at this game themselves? It is fairly fair, though, towards the center of the circle. Zia claiming that central spot for themselves. There's warehouses and buildings available to some of these teams to pick up and move further inwards. Loops on that northern side could come barreling down, though, through all of these teams and cause absolute chaos. Let's see what Loops can do in this one. Again, this is a team that is not uncomfortable playing from these struggle positions.
Quest. Looking a little bit scared in a spot like this, man. Just a solo. A rough position to be in where you know if you even reveal yourself in the smallest of instances, you could be collapsed on by all the squads lurking around you. The hyenas that are roaming on Miramar right now. Alpha 7. Their scouting mission works out to at least get information in terms of where the solos are for DX. So you've got to read on that one. Mad Bulls, alive and kicking. But for how long? How long can they thrust themselves into this game here on Miramar? A lot of damage done onto Tulika. He's quite low. They're looking for the flank as well. Tiamba, they spot the opportunity to punish towards Frozen. Quick switch to the DBS. Lands the first pump, but the trade is instantaneous. It goes both ways, and Tiamba, they are going to the beat of their own drum, looking to advance and pick up some stereo frags now. Two players adjusting. Fleeke with a shotty. Pre-fires on the corner, baiting the peek into Tulika. The nade will be exchanged as it detonates above the top. Zerich not quite helping his teammate in a way that he wanted to, as the team attack will come back to haunt them. Oh, that's close as well. Barely finding their way through that one.
Nice little exchange there from Mad Bulls. Didn't make it look easy for them, though, did Tiamba. The back of that last Miramar. Loops now going head-to-head with the Gladiators. Could be a nice nade over the top. One takes a lot of damage. Mythic, once again, goes extremely low. They're dealing with troubles of their own. A Stalwart just unleashes over towards them. And Kitsune still holding pretty. Doesn't find the eliminations, though, as they're quickly stolen by Stalwart up the hill as they try and get into a better spot. And I think Stalwart, with that high ground, has so much advantage right now to do exactly what they'd like from this position. Kitsune looks like he doesn't have any more nades remaining. We probably would have gone for some more of these over the top. Let's see if his teammates can follow up on this one.
Loops. Oh. Call them hoops at the minute because it feels like they are trying to pull out the 3-pointers, going for the Dame Lillard plays, the basketball banishers on the side. Not quite connecting yet, though. Still trying their luck the best they can. It seems like Action's actually been able to find one, and he hard commits onto it, pulling out the shotty up close and personal and finishing things off, looking to just rinse his way through them. Dish soap action here because he is cleaning up. UMP, front assault, not looking too good for the quick trades as Action again slays, finding another pump shot to shut things down and make it uncomfortable for I8 that are crumbling to bits on this one.
Yeah, they just can't handle the firepower coming through from Stalwart here. Again, Zia gets the circle, dead center. No one really challenging off against them. You got Loops sat on the backside here, looking to push through Gladiators. They know they need to get rid of these two players before they start to leave, but the shot's ringing out over towards Matic, and he has to duck back here.
Gladiators. How can they revive themselves today? How can they project themselves further? You've had a chicken dinner, sure, but what more could you get? Where are those healing points going to come from? Right now, it's certainly not coming from Gladiators. It seems like Loops is just getting lit up. They're all going down bit by bit. Mythic, with his back turned towards the fire, looking to at least adjust and potentially strike back. But this is quite a fragmented team. Ooh, a lot of small differences here.
Mate, the fling on the switch there from Icy as well was kind of disgusting. Icy finishes off Isla. Mythic moves down, but there is a side swipe angle there from Meku, which was set up earlier on. Nice play coming through from Gladiators to finish off those two players. Made it look a little bit hard for themselves, but again, it was a case that you had shots coming through from Stalwart as well at the same time. And now Zia locks on over towards Gladiators, takes down Meku. Now only 3 for the team total. 2 eliminations, but they've got to go further than ever before. When Gladiators off in the distance, now looking down towards Alpha 7. They had to make a quick maneuver, and they'll need to survive it out. Down towards this south side of the map. Stalwart moving towards Falcons. Puncher and Axa, last players remaining, and they're looking to just sweep on through.
Stalwart, how easily can they mean sweep their way through this building? Look at all the nades that they've got already. Trying to line this one up, looking for contact, explosion after explosion, coming in like a human grenade launcher. The voice of Octavian ringing in their ears, it seems. Reply back from Puncher, throws one out, looks for the quick heal as well. You've got so much utility detonating all around them. This has got to be such an uncomfortable position to be in. At least for Falcons, they're finding the odd angle. They're finding the odd room to breathe and peek back into it, keeping everyone feeling uncomfortable. Axa got a bail now. Far too low. Can't close the gap. The nade from Action stops him dead in his tracks. Puncher waiting for the peak. They're going to close the distance, but this guy could come back to haunt them. Won't matter though. DBS not going to find it. They're able to slow things down as Nurzed slays the Falcons finally, and they lay claim to the building.
They lost one player in the process, but overall, pretty clean fight there from Stalwart. Just easily finishing that one out. In the meantime, it's Gladiators who helped out Maliz Esports by removing the threat of Alpha 7 on that south side, letting open that warehouse for them to move into. But the Gladiators have been ping-ponging from spot to spot. It's not been easy for them, especially with the tournament they've had so far. Their life has been rough, yet they're still finding shots. They're still hitting their target. It looks like Matic even found one of the players from Stalwart there, but has to be careful. Those lads will hit shots if you give them the chance to. Tixie moves on back, sees if he can find an angle over towards Maliz Esports, and I'm scared now, Jackie. This is where Gladiators start to fail a little bit. It's when they take these too wide splits, players getting knocked off in the distance, impossible to be brought back up again.
It's like when you get to the bottom of the butter blank, you start spreading yourselves too thin. And they cannot afford to make those mistakes. Make or break for Bravo. And Kane comes in with the backbreaker, cashes in the money in the bank to snatch away that one as he'll wave goodbye and claim another pickup. He's in a good angle as well to play off his teammates here. It's Reject Tokyo that you are starting to fight towards, and OCO is the only one that remains up on top. Looks for the peek out, bullets down towards Evos. But you've opened yourselves up to a whole can of worms, and these worms have got guns. All of them looking your way now. Not much room to breathe for OCO. He's going to have to play this so slowly and hope that you can third party a little bit later on. Kane is still watching in his direction as well, with Evos having the exit covered. So you are just a mercy to the blue here. Got to go very slowly. Bra being able to fight back down the hill as well, putting bullets towards Gladiators, making them a whole lot easier to clean up.
Yeah, Tixie just keeps peeking back up this way. He knows there's realistically only one exit. Nice shots from Regiosio, but immediately found in the process. Pasija Evos allows that opportunity to not go unclaimed as they take down one of the players. Smoking outwards now, though, because they know that they need to cross. Three-man team still available. Zia, Gladiator, Stalwart, all looking for their chance here to push over towards the central position as the circle moves further down towards that south side. A very, very important game here for Gladiators if they want any chance in hell tomorrow, and they got to keep pushing forward.
Nades in the hands of Evos. A few shipping crates providing them protection. Backstab from Matic as the main man. Let's loot. Oh, the spray down, slay down as he claims two and puts them on a pedestal. Gladiators starting to get the blood pumping now. 6 eliminations and counting. More to be done for them. They've sharpened their steel blank. They're ready for this.
Nice nade across the side from Lynx, but won't do enough damage at the moment. But Bra losing players left, right, and center. Lynx will steal another one of them away, and it's just Tospic remaining. This lad has had some outstanding plays so far today, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to deal with the onslaught coming through from Pasija Evos. Drops out some stun grenades, drops out some smokes to sightline this away from Pasija Evos. Malise Esports coming in from the backside, and Toxic kind of understands. All he really has to do here is try and delay as long as possible for the other team on the warehouse to maybe third party. He's taking so much damage but holding on the best he can. The fight still rages over towards this north side between Stalwart, Zia and Gladiators.
Everyone is breathing down each other's necks. There's no room for mistakes. There's no room, period. You are just trapped in front of one another. Every shot you take has to be on point. You get to see the lay of the land here. Zia in the faces of STE. Stalwart start to crumble as Gladiators collapse from the side, dealing damage into them. Action primed, waiting to peek in with a DBS, looking for an opportunity to strike here whilst his entire team starts to fall. Icy with a smooth moves, pulls out the hardcore parkour, ascends to the heavens, but might go there a little bit more literally unless he can find these shots. Just putting bullets down range, got to hold towards the stairs now. Meanwhile, Gladiators keep cutting their way through everyone. Action will strike first, hits onto Shopper, traded back though as he's finished off. Icy on the re-peak, not slick enough.
But makes the exit for Zia real uncomfortable now going forward. 4 first aid kits, yeah, but you're definitely not getting your player back up on his feet unless he crawls out fast enough. We're already in stage 9, Jackie. How is this possible? We've got so many teams still up and kicking. 5 total. Zia, move out in the distance. They're in the open sort of here. Can Gladiators find themselves a side swipe? Let's wait and see as another shot comes through from Kitsune. Fantastic stuff, but now even they are moving out into the open as Tospic takes away Tixie, their main man who's been doing so much damage for them. There's bullets crying out all over the map.
Zia, they're trying to build pyramids blind, but they've got no clay. It's all starting to go wrong. You've got the readjustment from Malise as they put bullets down range and slay their way through Evos, making the twins look uncomfortable. Link, can he somehow piece this one back together? It would have to be absolutely perfect. He's in a good spot to try and strike, but the timing doesn't work. He's spotted
Nice.
out. Malise getting obliterated now by the Gladiators as well. They've seen the doors open. They start to stick their head in, taking info and taking names to boot as well, dealing damage onto Malise now. Play zone starting to nip at their heels, making it uncomfortable. They got to push with it and they can't quite close it. Gladiators all going down.
Just no cover available for Gladiators, but from that top side where so many sightlines were looking their way, it is a difficult experience for them to push through. They get a lot of eliminations in the process, and this is the game that we asked for, that they needed to move into tomorrow with at least a chance available to themselves to get into that survival stage. But that is about it. So many storylines will be knitted together tomorrow, completed and concluded, and everyone seems to have a chance at moving out from that bottom 5 at this point in time. But it's Belize that finish off the games today. A really nice set of rotations from them, slowly, like we said, just chipping away at these teams from that edge side.
Huge plays there, really. Nice damage established, especially proving that he is the CEO. Man was in charge of the situation and the business was theirs for the taking. As Melise do secure that chicken dinner to round out the day. A scrappy one, a crazy affair when you think about the sheer amount of teams we had. Even though they were so fragmented, right? Just so many squads alive and kicking into that 9th circle blank. And it ends in a blink of an eye.
Absolutely. I mean, CEO later as well. 1,649 damage done. 10 knockouts. This guy was absolutely unbelievable, both in his own region and is still stepping up here over towards the global stage. And Melise Esports better be thankful for the things that he brought to the table. Gladiators, on the other hand, I think you've got to be happy if you're a fan for them. Also scared in a way too, but at least that they've opened the door just a little bit before it shut down on their face.
There you have it. The stats don't lie. Overall, being able to secure a much-needed win at the end of day 3. A day that was chock-a-block with upsets and teams that needed to forge a legacy being able to do so. Let's get back to the desk then to break it down and give you the lay of the land.
Thank you so much, Jackie and Blank boys. You did a great job here. Another team that did a great job is none other than Melise, clutching up a chicken dinner. We talked about how the teams at the bottom needed to get a good performance here in the last final game, because tomorrow you never know what's going to happen there on the final day, and Melise were able to do it. They were in 11th place, so that was right there on that cutoff. I'm really excited to see where they end up on the leaderboards here, Kellars.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate it, that's for sure here. Melise getting themselves a victory with huge damage going out as well. Look how happy they are as they're able to clutch it out. I mean, of course, the circle's kind of narrowing down on their compound, but the thing is, a far cry from what we saw from Tiamba in the previous game, where they didn't really have many targets to shoot at. Melise had a lot of targets to shoot at here and was able to do it in full gusto.
Oh yeah, full gusto for the Melise. I mean, even before they have their position that keeps having the circle shifting their way, they take a head-on-head fight against Alpha 7, and they completely obliterate their position on the southern western side after they're going for that wide western wrap. So yeah, Melise, strong performance on this match overall and able to take themselves some good engages, but especially CEO later, top fragger for his team on this match with the Grows at the end. Hot Jukes on fire this match. Love it. Oh yeah.
Man, absolutely crushed. Another team that desperately needed points is Gladiators. I can't believe I'm even saying this right now. These guys are in the hot seat, and to be able to put up 14 points right here at the end, they got to be feeling good here, Kel.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I mean, considering at the start of the day, as I said before, I kind of counted them out, but they do now have a lifeline to be able to strike back.
Yes.
Set in 13th place here, Gladiators, and I'm going to say it, being an invited team after performing poorly in regional as a whole, they have to absolutely avoid this bottom 5. That would be an unmitigated disaster if they were invited and then fall out in the first round.
After the performance in the championship,